call to Town of Orangetown, call to order. Today is February 28th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have Mike Mandel, the Vice Chairman, present tonight. Mr. Andrews?
Here.
Mr. Fisciani? Here. Mr. McCrory? Here. Ms. Lenahan? Here. Mr. Farrell?
Here.
Mr. Warren is absent, and Mr. Bond? Here. Mr. Bond's the alternative member who will be voting tonight. Okay. For the public's information, each project will follow the following procedure. Applicant explains the project, agency comments, board member comments, and questions. Then there'll be time for public comment, and members of the public are permitted to speak 3 minutes. Okay, first project tonight is 59 Lee Boulevard. Please come forward. Sign in with your names.
What's your name, sir?
Ross Padlock,
Could you just spell your last name for me?
P-A-D-L-U-C-K.
And your name, sir?
German Thomas,
Oh, spell your last name.
Grman, Feldman.
Thank you. Have a seat.
Talking about these plans tonight.
Yes.
Just push the attendance sheet away from you so you don't get it on this.
Talking about these plans, right?
Yes, those are the plans. So I'm Ross Padlock. I'm the architect for the project, and this is Gary Feldman from DR Toa.
Okay, these other plans will be no longer good.
No, those are the correct.
Which is the ones for tonight?
Mike, the right plans are submitted to you. What Bruce brought up is a future application that he saw both of them at the same time.
Oh, okay. This is that both
This
sets
is
here.
just for the drainage.
Just
Okay.
for the drainage.
All right.
So this is an amendment to a site plan that was approved, I believe, in July of 2022. We're here to change the drywall system from a permavoid system to a concrete tank system. There's no change to impervious coverage or capacity or anything of that nature. We originally submitted the revised drawings in September, and in the intervening time between that and our time here today, the contractor had gone ahead and installed the concrete tanks, and it was flagged on an inspection.
And the reason you had to change the original?
Is because the lead time on the first project was too long. They basically both doing the same purpose, and not changing, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's fine, but different than the reason for it.
Yeah.
Right, so the board is clear. A different drainage system was reviewed and approved by the town engineer. If they change the system design, they need to come back for an amendment to that. So the town engineer can review it again, make sure it is sufficient. And you'll see from Bruce's letter, he's in the process of reviewing the numbers.
Okay, Rob, the 59 Tweed Boulevard, ready for approved site plan. The RC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. Also, Building, Zoning, Planning, Administration, Enforcement, February 23rd, 2024, 2 conditions. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, letter dated February 26, 2024. There are 4 conditions. Bureau of Fire Prevention, February 13th. board comment. February 7, 2024, Orangetown ZBA consents with the Town of Orangetown Building Board Service Lead Agency. February 7, 2024, Orangetown ZBA, no comments at this time. Have a letter from D.R. Pillar Associates, February 2nd, 2024. Short EAF dated January 31st, 2024. A appendix, a USDA NRCS soil map, and custom soil resource report for Rockland County, New York, 21-007, 0077, 59 Tree Boulevard. Mr. Andrews.
I have no comments at this time.
Mr. Fisher?
The worker has to go out again and do another evaluation, or
Say again? I'm sorry.
worker has to go out again?
No,
Oh,
no, Bruce will review for compliance.
okay. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing about broker if they have to get involved, but, yeah, it looks like a small change, satisfied Bruce Peters, everybody's happy. That's all I got.
Okay, Ms. Linehan?
No comment.
Mr. Perry?
What happens if Bruce's calculations don't work? What happens?
Well,
Just,
they work.
they work?
So, the answer to your question, they will have to work, or they'll have to add additional drainage, and if the plan is to change significantly, Bruce will say it has to come back to you.
All right, so once he reviews it, then we won't have to come back here again if it's approved?
Correct, if everything works, then he will give his letter of approval, and they can continue.
So,
Let me give you final tonight, subject to Bruce's conditions.
Mr. Bond, any questions?
No questions.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to open the public portion?
Motion open public.
Mr. Andrews, Ms. Linehan, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public like to speak on the project 59 Tweed? Again, anybody like to speak on the project 59 Tweed Boulevard? Hearing nobody, do I have a motion, Mr.
Make a motion.
Corey, second, Ms. Linehan, all in favor? Aye. We have a motion for a lead agency.
Motion for lead agency.
Mr. Andrews, Ms. Linehan, second, all in favor? Aye. We have a motion for a negative debt.
Motion for net debt.
Mr. Andrews, Mr. Bond, second, all in favor? Aye.
Fine.
Yeah, all right.
Someone has to have a motion for it.
Yes, but
I'll make a motion
Mr. Corey,
for final conditions.
Open up the public hearing.
Yeah, we did. He's doing it so fast. Easy one.
Just wait for it.
Yeah, Office of Building Zoning Planning Administration Enforcement, February 23rd, 2024. There are two conditions. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, February 26th, 2024. Has four conditions. Bureau of Fire Prevention, February 13th, 2024. One condition. Do I have a second? Ms. Linehan, all in favor? Aye. Got it. Good day.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry. If you don't want them to.
Mr. Padlock, remember, they can't start work until the building inspector contacts you and says everything's good to go.
Do you know what the estimated review time is?
Bruce is a different department, so he can answer that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, don't forget the rolls are on the back of the chair for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, you,
I'm Stephen Yaski,
go your list.
Y-A-S-S-K-Y.
Bart Rudy? Smith?
Oh, yeah, all the
Stephen Yasky, board member, Rockland Country Club.
Bart Rhodey, engineer for the applicant.
Chris Smith, golf course superintendent, Rockland Country Club.
Give us a update on these projects, and what changed since the last time?
Yes, so since we last met with the board, we went to the Architecture Review Board and got approval from the Architecture Review Board on January 4th, 2024. We answered the issues that Jane brought up in her previous letter of November 6th, which was the mixing pad and recovery pad were moved or relocated, so it's out of the front setback. We did an enlarged section of the wash station on the plan and showed the elevations and confirmed that there was no roof proposed over the wash station. From Bruce Peters' letter dated November 6th, I put a total disturbance calculation on the drawing. He still thinks it's 12 square feet off, and I'll agree with him on that for 12 square feet. On that, and I'll make that change. He also wanted the area of disturbance, which we'll put in, I guess, to confirm it's less than an acre, but it's much less than an acre. We also put the details of the equipment on the plan as Bruce requested. We put a stabilized construction entrance on the plan. He would like it to be rotated 90 degrees, so we'll do that. He wanted a legend on the plan showing the soil erosion control measures, which we did, which we added. He asked if the sanitary sewer connections were applicable, put them on the plan. So in my narrative, I said it's not applicable because we're not doing anything with the sewer. He'd still like them on the plan, just to have it on the plan. So we can easily add that on the plan, which we will do. And I added a note for the source of the benchmark and the datum, which he requested. He also wants where it is on the plan. So I'll add that, it's in the street. So we'll add that to the plan also. We did answer all the comments from the Brooker letter dated September 7th. And I believe at the last meeting, we did do some overrides for the county.
Yes,
that
we
were
did.
approved.
We did.
And so that's where we stand. So we're hoping to get final approval with the conditions that, the several things Bruce wanted.
You may wanna, the state Rockland County Planning, they sent another letter, so, we'll just see which ones they are, and go back to the previous override, the previous meeting. Okay, Rockland County Club site plan, PRC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies to this project. Office of Building, Zoning, Planning, Administration, and Enforcement, February 23rd, 2024, 2 conditions. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, February 26th, 2024, they have 7 conditions. Bureau of Fire Prevention, February 13th, 2024, 1 bullet under site plan review. Rockland County Planning, February 14th, 2024, they have 11.1 comments. Rockland County Center for Environmental Health, February 16th, 2024, they have 1 comment. Rockland County Highway Department, letter dated February 6th, 2024, 1 comment. Rockland County Department of Health received February 23rd, 2024, comments attached. Rockland County Planning Department, 12924, comments attached. Okay, is that it?
There's the Brooker.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's game right. Brooker, February 28th, 2024. Drainage review recommendation. The application has provided sufficient information to demonstrate that there are no potential significant impacts with respect to drainage that require mitigation. We therefore recommend that the Rockland County Club site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, which there are 4. Mr. Andrews.
Going to the Rockland County Health Department, more details regarding the water source. Where's the water coming from?
Well, initially, the It's a well on the property, it's a private well on the property. Initially, the unit takes water, but then it recycles the water, so it's not a constant draw in the water. Just if there's some evaporation, some of it gets refilled.
It's just a feed that maintains a certain level, that's all.
So your well,
90% of water is recycled and reused.
okay, but your well only services the golf course, and
Yes.
doesn't service any other
Right.
public or?
No. Independent.
I'm good, yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McCrory?
Yeah, there's not much outstanding here. That the system you're creating is a better system than what you've been doing.
Yes.
Environmentally, it would kind of recapture everything. It doesn't seep into the soil like every other golf course here. So,
Yes.
that's all I got. I'm good with it.
Ms. Lanahan?
I have no additional.
Mr. Ferry?
No comments.
Mr. Bond?
Do you guys have any thing that, on the county recommendations that need to be overridden?
What we overrode, we can go over, we probably should go over them again, just make sure.
Okay, last time, if they changed them around, maybe they changed them a bit. Last time we overrode one, which was site plan drawings by only depicts the area of the lot being developed.
That's the same, yeah, that's the same on this one.
Try to read this one, yeah.
Yeah, I have an original copy. The one is the same as the
Okay.
overridden one.
All right, so do we have to override again, or just mention the override from previous?
It's safer just to override again.
Okay, do we have to vote on it, or just go from our previous?
When it's time to vote, you can vote on it.
Okay, all right. We do one at a time, as usual, so we can do this one?
Yeah, do it the same way, to be
Okay.
consistent.
Do I have a motion, last time we board held that submittal of full site plan is not necessary for golf course. Do I have a motion to override number one, Mr.
We want to
Bond?
open the public.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
excuse me. You have a motion open to public portion. Ms. Lanahan, second, Mr. Ferry, all in favor? Do I have anybody from the public who would like to make a comment regarding Rockland County Country Club? Would anybody like to make a comment regarding the Rockland County Club Golf Cart Wash Station? Hearing none.
Motion closed.
Mr. Andrews, second. Mr. Ferry, all in favor? Okay, now go on to the, reaffirm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. A motion to reaffirm lead agency, Ms. Lanahan, all second. Mr. Mr. McCrory, all in favor? Aye. Motion for, neg deck,
Motion for
What,
the.
just
Ms.
reaffirm secret, you.
Okay, reaffirm, motion to reaffirm secret. Ms. Lanahan, Mr. Andrews, is second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Okay.
So we have, number one on the February
We
fourth.
need a motion for final with conditions.
Then you override the conditions. Motion for,
Oh, okay, well, okay. Motion to override,
motion for.
motion for final with conditions, Mr. Ferry. Okay,
Now we do the condition, then you override it, you're good for.
all right. Okay. All right, do it, now you went over, yes, for an override number one?
Yes.
No, wait, no. Do the conditions in order, when we get to the county planning, we'll override.
I saw we did it the way last time. Okay. Office of Building, Zoning, Planning Administration, Boston, February 23rd, 2024. Two comments. Club Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, February 26th, 2024. 7 conditions. Bureau of Fire Prevention, February 13th, 2024. 1 bullet on site plan review. Rockland County Planning, dated February 14th, 2024. 11.1 conditions. Would you like to override any of these?
Yes, please.
Okay,
We'd like to override number one.
okay, do I have a motion to override number one, based upon the fact that, full site plan of the golf course is not necessary?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bond, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Ferry, all in favor?
Second override we'd like is number 7.
Okay. Number 7, the site plan drawing delineates the purpose of her proposed washing station outside 100-foot floodplain buffer. The board,
Motion override number 7.
based upon the fact the board held the proposed project was moved in order to avoid negative impacts on the wetland buffer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Ferry, all in favor? Aye.
And And the last one would be number 8, as stated in previous review, Sparkle Creek wetland, other natural features should be depicted on the plans. We asked for an override that we
So
should.
a motion,
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bond, based upon the fact that Sparkle Creek is not close enough to the proposed project, the applicant proposed to leave the wetlands and other natural features intact, as per the override from the November 8, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Center for Environmental Health, February 16, 2024.
We'd also like to request an override on this since
You
the.
don't, we'll have to run it.
We don't have to override that, no.
Only the Rockland County Planning comments have to be over.
Okay, Center for Environmental Health, 1 dated February 16, 2024. Rockland County Highway Department, February 6, 2024, 1 condition. I think that's it.
And Brooker.
And Brooker, okay, Brooker, February 28, 2024. The application provides sufficient information to demonstrate that there are no potential significant impacts with respect to drainage or require mitigation. We therefore recommend the Rockland County above site plan, improved drainage, subject to the above project comments which are all for. Do I have a second? Mr. Rory, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And again, you have to wait for the plan stamp, we meet, and Bruce's sign off,
Yep.
building permits issued, before we can start anything.
Yep.
Understood. Thank you.
You want to-
The file.
Mr. Chairman, would you like our consultant to sit up at the table?
Yes, sir. Please join us.
Yeah, that's all, KKRS.
Someday, someday.
Peter. Peters.
I do.
No, sorry.
I mean, if you're gonna tell me.
Oh, here, I have to sign it, sheet. Yeah. Just take it, Rob. Just, right?
He would ask me. And that's not his name.
Jesse, what's the guy's person next to you? Could I have Tony spell his last name for me?
Benedziano.
Thank you. Ira, yeah,
And Corey Chase.
Corey Chase. Great, thanks.
You have Peter's last name?
Yes. Hold on.
Can we do both of these together and then separate them at the end?
They can be discussed together.
Continue to postpone from January 24th. WPT acquisitions for subdivision planning. PRC had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. And WPT acquisition site plan. The PRC had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. Office of Building, Zoning, Planning, Administration, Enforcement, February 23rd, 2024. There are 9 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, January 23rd, 2024, we have 32 comments. We have a second letter from the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, January 23rd, 2024, and we'll make a correction. The number 1 is repeated twice, so the second number 1 will become 2, and the second number 2 will now become number 3. So it has 3 comments.
No, one's the site plan, the other one's re-subdivision?
Okay, this is the re-subdivision.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
So
The first one is the WPT acquisition site plan. The
Right.
second one is the WPT acquisitions re-subdivision.
right, so the re-subdivision plan is the one that has the numbering order,
Yes,
so it's technically 3 comments,
correct.
okay? Then you have the site plan comments,
Which are 30,
which are numbered properly.
yes, 32.
Mm-hmm. 32. Next on to fire
The
inspector.
Bureau of Fire Prevention, February 13, 2024, subdivision reviewed on the acquisition site plan. There are 2 comments, 4 bullets on the construction plans. We have Brooker Engineering, February 28, 2024. The applications provided calculations to demonstrate that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that the 518 New York State Road 303 and 13 and 15 Mountain View Avenue site plan be approved with drainage, subject to no conditions. No conditions.
Yeah, no conditions. Next one would be.
Department of Transportation.
No, Rockland County Planning should be next.
Okay. on
That
my
letter
left.
came in, yeah, that was from an old package, so Caitlin put a fresh copy. November 13th.
Oh, I think he put it in his thing, like, it's in his read.
Let's find it again, it's in the second package. That's the one January 18, 2024?
No, the November 13th one was never read into record. Received November 13th, 2020. Get here. You guys passed that.
Well, that would be with the previous package.
But I don't think it was ever read into the record.
Yeah, I don't have the other packages here, so to read in.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that one gets in there.
Where do we want to read this into?
The DOT?
Yeah, go to the DOT, then we'll get this in. Okay.
DOT.
New York State Department of Transportation, February 1st, 2024. We have 5 comments. We have an email from Jason Brenner, DOT, Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Crash diagrams. We have a letter from the Department of Transportation, August 11, 2023, regarding the January 27, 2023 New York State DOT letter. We have comments from the January 10th, 2024 project review for the planning board meeting of January 24th, 2024. WPT acquisition re-subdivision plan, PRC had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies. WPT acquisition site plan, project had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for the project. Bureau of Fire Prevention, January 9, 2024, they had 2 comments, the internal circulation plan, 4 bullets on the construction plans. Rockland County Planning, January 18, 2024. They have 25 comments. Rockland County Sewer District One, January 8, 2024. They have two comments. Let's read comment number one. No permanent structures may be built within our easements. I have January 12, 2024, Rockland County Planning, comments attached. The letter from Emmanuel Law PC, February 27th, 2024. Response to Rockland County Department of Planning's January 18th letter. I have a email from Elizabeth Dudley, Hamlets of Coupon, Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. A email from Jesse Coakley, February 13th, 2024. A letter from Collier's Engineering Design, February 13th, 2024. Comments in response to AKF's traffic planning review letter dated February 8th, 2024. A technical memorandum from Dynamic Traffic dated February 12th, 2024 regarding crash analysis. Meeting minutes from Dynamic Traffic for meeting held on February 9th, 2024. AKRF, Environmental Planning and Engineering Consultants, memorandum from February 8th, 2024. Okay. Okay. Which ones do you have next, Caitlin?
So then we have the 11/8 meeting.
I have duplicates here in this package. 11/9? Meeting? Okay. Project Review Committee report, October 25th, 2023, for the planning board meeting November 8th, 2023, which is postponed at the request of the applicant. WPT, re-subdivision plan. PRC had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies. The WPT acquisition site plan, PRC had no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for the project. The Bureau of Fire Prevention.
Correct, that's October 24th.
That went together now. Bureau of Fire Prevention, October 24th, 2023. Preliminary site plan, 2 comments, construction plans, 4 bullets. Okay. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 6th, 2023, for the WPT acquisition site plan, there are 31 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, November 6th, WPT acquisitions for the subdivision plan, there are 2 comments. Rockland County Planning, November 3rd, 2023, they have 25 comments. Memorandum dated November 6, 2023, from the Highway Department, Town of Orangetown. The 4 items. Center for Environmental Health, Rockland County, October 30th, 2023, they have 2 conditions. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, October 20th, 2023, they have 2 comments. An email from Alfred Gotti, Orange and Rockland Utilities, dated September 29th, 2023. There is an existing gas service stub that may be in conflict with proposed work. Please contact O&R, new business department for all relocations and new service requests. All code 753 rules must be followed. September 27th, 2023, Rockland County Planning, comments attached. 10/30, 23, Rockland County Health, comments attached. Memorandum from AKRF dated February 28th, 2024. a letter from Colliers Engineering Design dated February 26, 2024. The Orangeburg Industrial Air Quality Noise Studies, parcel IDs 70.07-1-36, 74.07-1-2, 74.07-1-33, dated February 21st, 2023, revised February 26th, 2023. And I think that's it.
22, 26, 24. Yeah, 24. That's it.
The revision date, so.
Yeah.
I just put one, but you did that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that's it, 23?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Revision February 26th, 2024.
Anyone move through one? No.
Okay. Members of the board?
Chairman, you want them to do their presentation?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a while since they've been here.
Yes, that's true.
Sure, so, good evening, Jesse Coakley with Colliers Engineering and Design, engineer of record for the project, here tonight on behalf of WPT Acquisitions for the site plan and re-subdivision located at 518 Route 303, and 13 and 21 Mountain View Avenue. We were last actually before this board, November 9th, 2022, so it's been a while. A lot has transpired since that time, including several submissions, a handful of PRC meetings, as well as numerous conference calls and meetings with New York State DOT, Town Highway Department, DEME, and other representatives from the town, as well as the board's consultant, AKRF. It's been an iterative and collaborative process with all the parties I just mentioned, including various meetings, phone calls, submissions, resubmissions, studies, revised studies. All of that has been instrumental in getting this project to where it stands today, ready to appear again before the board. I won't go over the full timeline in painstaking detail, but I will highlight the concerns that we've worked through with the town and the rest of the parties that I just listed to get us to a point where we feel the project is ready to move.
Can you please speak up or use the microphone?
Sorry.
Is that on?
So traffic. Mountain View Avenue was arguably the biggest sticking point that we had to overcome. This included initial discussions with DOT and the town back in 2023 with respect to the culvert replacement project along Mountain View Avenue. The applicant initially looked at widening Mountain View Avenue on the south side in the shoulder within the limits of the new culvert, but that alone was not sufficient. So the applicant met with, and the traffic engineer, Dynamic Traffic, met with the town highway superintendent and DEME in late 2023 to discuss extending the culvert and then performing additional widening along Mountain View Avenue to accommodate a fully dedicated left turn lane. This included evaluated truck stacking in that spot and upgrading the roadway itself to commercial standard from the intersection with Mountain View Avenue and Route 303 up to the site driveway on Mountain View Avenue. The conceptual design was then developed and implemented into the traffic analysis and actually found to actually result in a slight improvement in the level of service over the no-build condition at the intersection now. Now that it's wider and would have a left turn lane, it would be better than if nothing was to be done, and even including not even the project. Those plans and the revised traffic study were submitted to DOT and the town and AKRF for review. We received a letter from DOT, which Vice Chairman Mandel read in on February 1st, 2024 from DOT, where they accepted the updated traffic study, accepted the mitigation proposed along 303, which included cameras and modems at a few of the intersections, accepted the right-in and right-out only driveway as the only direct access onto Route 303. They also stated that all trucks seeking to turn left would use the signalized intersection with Mountain View Avenue. They also, in that letter, agreed the proposed intersection improvement plan at Mountain View Avenue would contribute to improving the level of service. We then had a subsequent conference call with DOT, the town, and AKRF on February 9th to confirm all that was in the February 1st memo. AKRF has since issued a February 28th review memo, which indicates that all the traffic comments have been addressed, save for a few technical items that could be handled prior to final approval. Next thing I want to talk about is stormwater. The proposed project includes mitigation to the peak runoff above the requirements set forth by the town and the DEC in response to the concerns of flooding in the area. The main design point study, which discharges to the existing storm sewer in Route 303, is being reduced by 26% below the existing flows for the 100-year storm event. It is also worth noting that over 29,000 cubic feet of water quality volume is being provided with the proposed project, which is more than 4,000 cubic feet above the requirement. The project also involves implementation of green infrastructure techniques as required by the DEC to the great extent practical. As you heard earlier, the town's drainage consultant, Brooker Engineering, states in their February 28, 2024 letter that the application has provided calculations to demonstrate that the potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. They therefore recommend the site plan be approved for drainage subject to no conditions. DEME has issued their review letter that contains technical comments that I have no issue addressing with Mr. Peters. The next two are kind of go hand in hand with the report. So air quality, I'll kind of separate them out here. As indicated in the February 28th review memo from AKRF, all outstanding comments with respect to air quality have been addressed. The project site is not anticipated to adversely impact background air quality conditions based on the SEQA review. There projects to be a lack of long-term major emissions originating from site operations and no impacts to human health are anticipated. Based on the findings contained in the report, it is unlikely that air pollution above background levels and associated odors will occur and affect the project site. The project is subject to all regulatory permits and laws such as truck idling that is enforced by DEC. Rockland County also has a code which restricts truck idling to 3 minutes, which the project must comply with. On a local level, the project is still subject to performance standard review by the Industrial Use Committee as well. Noise. As indicated in the February 28th, 2024 review memo from AKRF, nearly every comment has been addressed, and remaining ones would not change the overall conclusions and therefore could be addressed prior to final approval. The noise study concludes that during construction there are no anticipated noise impacts for the proposed project, and during operation with the installation of a sound barrier, the noise can be mitigated for the residential homes that are situated in an industrial zone and adjacent to a commercial zone. Environmental. Along the way, we did resubmit prior phase 1s and phase 2 environmental site investigations. AKRF has reviewed and provided comments. The applicant's environmental engineer provided responses addressing all of those concerns. Based on the results from the phase 2 investigation, the professional conclusions and recommendations were that no impacts above regulatory screening criteria resulted from historical commercial operations at the site, and no further subsurface investigation or characterization, contamination delineation, or remedial action was recommended for chemical impacts at the property. The applicant shall implement a soil management plan to address potential fill containing anthropogenic material unsuitable for offsite reuse should it be encountered, as is typical with redevelopment sites. In addition to those items, those kind of 5 main categories that I've addressed, we have previously agreed to adding a map note to the site plans that restricts the use to ITE Land Use Code 150, which is defined as a warehouse primarily devoted to the storage of materials, but may also include office and maintenance areas. We are also seeking 24-hour operation, but agree to the zoning regulation which states no trucking movement of any kind shall be permitted in any district between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. prevailing time. We've also committed to an agreement being worked out between the town and the applicant for the funding of the culvert extension and the road widening project along Mountain View Avenue. All of these would be conditions of approval. I hope you can see that we've been hard at work and are appreciative of town staff and their consultants for reviewing all the materials and accommodating meeting times with the DOT, which is never easy. At this point, with everything that has been submitted, we feel this project is ready for the next step. The final page of the February 28th memo from AKRF states the applicant has substantively responded to the planning board's comments regarding the potential environmental impacts of this project. At this point, the planning board has sufficient technical information and analysis of potential impacts to consider a negative declaration. We recognize there is more work to be done prior to final approval, including an appearance before ACABOR, obtaining approvals from the outside agencies, and addressing the remaining technical comments in the letters. We kindly request the planning board allow us to move forward tonight so that we can do those things.
Right, as, you know, you brought up the thing, November 8th, 2022 was the last time we were here, night. And you were scheduled for November 8th, 2023, April 12th, 2023, and January 24th, 2023, which you asked to be postponed on. So there's been a time frame, but as based upon your requests.
Yeah, preceding every planning board meeting, there's obviously PRC.
Yes.
And so that's the chance to kind of sort through some things. We would oftentimes show up to PRC ready to move forward, only to, you know, have another hurdle that we wanted to address completely before coming here and you know, wasting everybody's time at all of those meetings.
And the mitigation of the traffic at Mountain View and Route 303, this has not been approved yet by the DOT for funding. I think it's sometime in May?
Correct, so
Yeah,
the
so,
culvert project is obviously a key piece.
right, okay, so
Yep.
that still has to come down the road and then be approved.
Mhm.
The DOT won't tell us either way. I mean, call, we don't. dictate. Okay, comments from the board, Mr. Andrews.
I don't know where to start. Is that the presentation?
That's the
That's what we have?
overview, you know, for where we've been. I can go into more detail, but I think you guys have your questions, so.
All right, there's 3 different addresses for the property. What address do you know is going to be used for the property? And I only ask this because trucker use GPS. What address are they gonna use to get to your facility and leave your facility to get back to the thruway or wherever they're gonna go? So I know, according to Google Earth, there's a house that's vacant, I believe, and that address is 21 Mountain View Avenue? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said there's a house that's vacant, I believe, up in the southwestern corner.
Yeah,
Is that house gonna be destroyed, come down?
come down, yep.
So that address goes away, that's 21 Mountain View, correct?
Yeah, and there's no, that house has a driveway, that driveway's going.
Alright. So 13 Mountain View, is that the address of the facility?
That's where the current lot for the prior users were accessing, that's their address. The 518 Route 303 address is the parcel that goes to Route 303.
Okay. So using GPS, trucks using GPS, they put in 518, 303, that's fine if they're gonna be coming south on 303 and going into your facility off of 303. What if they're coming south and going north? What address do they use to get into your facilities?
It would be one address, 518.
But how are they gonna know that they have to go in off of Mountain View?
Andy, if I can interject, the county, I believe, makes that determination. We receive letters from them all the time, like when subdivisions go through, they provide the designation. So that's gonna be a question for the county.
But what I'm getting at is the GPS, I mean, if the address is 518.
No, we all understand the concern, however, I don't believe it's up to the property owner. I believe it's up to the county and the 911 system. So all I can do is I can look into that The person who sends me the designations, I can email her and ask,
I mean,
how will they
my-
make that determination?
to 518 Route
Yeah.
303.
No, I understand it, but my concern is that
If they're coming north,
they're not gonna
turn left.
know, they're not gonna know that they have, if they're going north on 303, they're not gonna know that they have to turn onto Mountain View to get into your facility.
Right, so again, I can reach out to the county
Okay.
department that makes that determination and see what their thoughts are.
All right. On January 10th, there was a PRC meeting, and you received additional comments from AKRF, our planner. Can you share those comments with us? I mean, I had quite a bit of reading to do there, and I really couldn't find those comments. This is a letter from Mr. Emmanuel. So, just wanted to know what those comments were from the PRC meeting.
It was a January 23 meeting?
January 10th. I believe this was a letter you wrote to postpone one of the meetings.
Yes. I don't know if there was a January 10 letter, Mr. Andrews.
No, the letter was dated January 22nd. The meeting with PRC was January 10th. That's what it says in your letter.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm just asking what those comments were. The reason why you postponed the meeting.
We were still addressing those comments that we had previously received. I don't know if there was a January.
Well, it says that we received additional comments. from-
Yeah,
We did get a January.
It wasn't a memo. At PRC, we had submitted on December 22nd, the conceptual improvement plans for Mountain View Avenue, the revised traffic study, and a revised EAF package. At that meeting, the traffic consultant from AKRF and members of PRC wanted to see additional exhibits for the truck turning at the intersection. Additional, I think the tracking, the truck stacking exhibit needed to be clarified with some striping. And they wanted some synchronization files for traffic report backup. All of those were sent later that day on January 10th. But the, also AKRF and PRC indicated that they didn't have a new letter from DOT. Yeah, so we wanted to have a meeting with DOT and get a new letter from them that basically echoed, we submitted the revised traffic study, DOT has seen it, they have seen this Mountain View intersection plan, and we can move forward. And so we have that, we got that letter from them on February 1st. And then we had the meeting on we had the call with them on February 9th.
Also, to clarify, Andy, when we have PRC, it's exactly 2 weeks to the day before the planning board meeting.
Right.
So at PRC, if the committee asked for additional information, and in this case, it was pretty extensive amount of information, there's not enough time for it to get to all of us and to the consultant and giving them time to review it and formulate a response in time for the planning board hearing, so it would have been a waste of everybody's time for them to come because
Understood.
the responses would not have been received in time.
Plus the meeting with the DOT,
Yeah.
they kept changing the date,
Yeah,
time.
DOT kept changing the date.
Yeah, until we finally got something on the numbers.
So you mentioned about turning radiuses within that meeting, correct? On all of the plans that we received, and this is probably what you show the turning radiuses. Well, this one shows a truck coming up Mountain View, heading west. Turning into the
Andy,
facility.
Andy, while you're speaking that, can I ask the applicant, do you have that on your board? Can you
Yeah,
We have the new one.
right, the new one, yeah, that's probably even better.
Here was the intersection improvement plan.
Jesse, I'll handle it, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you stand on that side? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you stand on the other side, Jesse, thank you.
So this was the intersection improvement plan. What's that? Yeah, Corey.
So when they prepared the drawing,
Good evening, everyone. Corey Chase with Dynamic Traffic. As Jesse mentioned, so this is the intersection improvement conceptual plan that we prepared following discussions with Mr. Dean and Mr. Peters. As Jesse described, the extent of the improvement are really concentrated between our proposed site access along Mountain View Avenue and the intersection along Route 303. Mr. Dean's requests were that we upgrade the road, Mountain View Avenue, in both width and structure to the town's commercial standards. So we would be widening Mountain View Avenue to a 40-foot partway width between our site driveway and the Route 303 intersection. Also a complete reconstruction to the town's commercial pavement spec will be done in that. So at that meeting, Mr. Andrews that you're referencing, AKRF had requested that we provide additional truck turning movements with the revised lane configuration, because I believe the plan that you're looking at was,
Well, that was an old one.
yeah, the original lane configuration at Route 303.
Do you, all right, my question is, when a truck is coming up from, 303, turning into your facility, that's only 24 foot, correct?
Correct, and that was at Mr. Peters' recommendation. We had originally had that driveway wider. He had requested that we narrow that to 24 feet.
How's a truck gonna turn into that facility with a 24-foot wide road?
Sure, so you can see the elongated radius that's on the northeast corner of the driveway as you enter from Mountain View Avenue. That radius was designed with the vehicle turning path of a tractor trailer in mind to accommodate that movement. And Mr. Peters' opinion was that the wider driveway was excess asphalt that we didn't need.
So my same question is, when a truck comes out of your facility, turning onto Mountain View Avenue, going to 303, you don't show any, you have some really nice drawings of the trucks and everything, but with that turning, coming in and out of your facility, you don't show a truck actually going into that radius. Is there any reason for that? You have other drawings there that shows a truck coming down Mountain View to 303. If you have, well, let me see. Yeah, you have this one going here.
So
Is that the only drawing you have with you tonight?
it is. So there have been several iterations of those drawings. I can tell you that we have prepared all the requested turning movements by AKRF. They requested them at that PRC meeting that was referenced earlier. They've all been submitted and reviewed by DOT and AKRF, and they all found that the truck turning movements to be satisfactory. Based on that, again, we're widening the roadway significantly from its current configuration to the commercial width of 40 feet. So
Right.
there's going to be additional maneuvering area there. And again, the driveway was designed such to prohibit trucks from turning right out of the site and heading continuing west on Mountain View Avenue. So you can see that radius on the northwest corner is a lot tighter than the radius on the northeast corner comparatively. That's really to discourage trucks from making that right turn.
Here's another drawing. This one shows the trucks coming up 303, heading north, turning onto Mountain View. But you don't show a truck into this radius here. You show a truck coming here. You don't show the truck coming around this, into this radius. I mean, a visual is always good, you know? And I just can't visualize, here's another one right here. You don't show a truck turning in here. You don't show a truck coming out of here. I'd like to see the radius coming out the Mountain View Avenue. I know you're widening, but is that width gonna be wide enough for a 73-foot truck.
It is, and we
And some
prepare,
of them are 80 feet.
there's
You look
73.
it up, you look it up, some of them are 80 feet.
I'm well aware, sir. So we prepared those all previously, and those were all done to everyone's
But I mean,
satisfaction.
every drawing you have here does not show any truck turning into that driveway.
Sure.
And on the 303 one, you don't show any truck turning off the 303 into your driveway. Okay, that road is only 26 feet, and you got an island. Which brings up another point, what I'd like to see on that island is guardrails. So
So,
trucks don't turn, so trucks coming north on 303 can't turn in.
so those circulation patterns were all previously submitted, they've all been submitted and reviewed previously. They weren't included in this most recent resubmission because nothing's changed on the 303 access, that design's remained as it has been for several iterations of the project. So, those have been submitted, reviewed by AKRF, reviewed by DOT, no one had any comments on it. You are correct, there is a concrete island that we're proposing there to channelize those movements, restrict those left turn movements. We would certainly have to speak with DOT about potentially putting guide rail in that island. You know, they have the ultimate jurisdiction over that driveway and how it's gonna be designed.
But you know what I mean, I looked up on YouTube turning radiuses for 73-foot tractor trailers and 80-foot tractor trailers. And it's pretty big to be turning. And to make a road only 24 feet and 26 feet wide. I know at the end of 303, you kind of widened it out a little bit. You can't widen it any much more because of the sewage and everything you got in that area, on that easement.
Well, we had originally had that driveway at 30 feet, but again, Mr. Peters had asked that we reduce it in width because he felt like it was excess pavement that we didn't need. So to comply with his request, we reduced that driveway in width. And it's same as I mentioned on the Mountain Drive access.
I know, the last meeting I wasn't at on November 8th, but I did write a letter. And I did ask for maybe a video of a truck turning in and out of that area just to see it. And, if you could put it on a drawing, that would be good, showing me what it is. But, for some reason, I don't know why it wasn't put on here.
We have done those and issued them because we also had to submit fire truck turning plans as well. So we showed both going in and out.
Yeah, that was my next question, because if the fire department is concerned with a 48 foot long fire truck with a 271 inch bed, wheelbase, if they're concerned with that, well, 48 foot is considerably shorter than a 73 foot truck.
Correct, but they don't have the reticulation in the middle like a tractor trailer because they're locked in. Also, they're coming from the west, which was something we discussed with this board from the beginning. We're trying to prohibit trucks from exiting and turning west onto Mountain View. So we have a tighter radius there. In discussing with the fire inspector at PRC and rerunning truck turns using their updated ladder truck, et cetera, we show the truck being able to turn into the site and exit the site and go back west, because that's where they're gonna be coming from. So we've run that truck turn, we've run the truck turn and provided in the past for that driveway. And that's where the current driveway is, which has been in operation for many years too, using the road Mountain View as it is today. This is a widening of Mountain View as Corey indicated. We're gonna open up that radius a little bit more to make that movement better without swinging in, because we did want to accommodate Mr. Peters' request with keeping the impervious to a minimum at this location and the other one. I agree the driveway off of 303 looks odd with the wider than bottlenecking down, but that was what he wanted. We ran trucks to make sure we could make it work, because we don't want to show something that isn't going to work. Obviously, our client wants it to work, we want it to work.
Sure.
So they've been previously submitted, but we certainly drop them on and give them to you, with updated information.
One more question, and I'll yield to everybody else, but the other question is, if a truck comes out onto 303 and comes out of your facility onto 303 going south and realizes that he should be going north, where's he gonna U-turn?
So we're proposing to put wayfinding signage on site, directing trucks to exit through Mountain View to get to Route 303 North. There'll be additional information within the facility advising the drivers of the such as well.
I don't believe I saw any of your signage or anything in any of the plans that, I don't know if they're there or not.
It hasn't been designed, sir, but we've discussed this in the past, I believe, and we agreed with it. So the town would like to see detail and the location of such signs. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna go to, yeah, on this site plan here, I don't know if you have that color here. The reason why I asked for a color would be a lot easier to see what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, if you could put it up on the board there. Let me, right along here, where these two houses are right here, your property lines that you have drawn in here, they kind of, let's see, they're a little screwy here. It looks like the one on the west side, right along here. Is there property going onto your property?
No, this was just an aerial exhibit that was put together for zoning and contextual purposes. It uses available Google mapping, so the blue is not accurate, you know, and even with respect to this plan, like where the property line is, we tried to do as best we could lining it up with the GIS information, but it's not.
All right, understood.
Andy, we've been told that the GIS can be off as much as 5 feet or more.
Okay, all right. Going to your landscape plan, what I'd like to see on that, you don't have to put it up here, I just want to make some comments about some of the plants that you have, that you intend on putting in. You have 128 Norway spruce, good tree, very well deer resistant and everything. But what I'd like to see, and that's going on the west side of the property along the railroad tracks there, I think most of them are gonna be there.
Yeah, that's the majority.
I would just like to make a suggestion that, you might wanna, take 28 of them out or so and put in some green giants along there, just so that it doesn't look like one big hedge, you know, more like a, forest effect or whatever. And maybe, add another, the white pine, eastern white pine. They're not deer resistant or anything. They're not very stable in the wintertime when we get a heavy snow. I'd like to see them replaced with the green giants also. They give a nice spread, 25 foot, 30 feet high. So wherever the white pines you plan on putting in, exchange them with the green giants. I have nothing further right now. I'll wait for the comments of the public. Mr. Fisher?
Okay, you said before, Mountain View is still the biggest sticking point here. Since the warehouse tenant is unknown, I know that there's gonna be a note added to restrict the use of the site. Can you give me examples or some examples of what's going to be allowed to go in?
Sure, it's a general warehouse use, so it's for the storage of goods. It's easier to say what's not gonna be there, honestly, than what is going to be there. So it's not going to be an Amazon type facility, where you have a vast amount of employees who are taking bigger boxes, packing them into smaller boxes, and then shipping it out. It's not gonna be a parcel hub, which is like a UPS or FedEx type facility. This is generally just for the storage of bulk goods. The building will be consumed by a lot of racking. Has limited amount of employees who are going to unload trucks, break down the pallets, rearrange the pallets, reload trucks to be shipped out. It's not a facility where, you know, you're packaging things and shipping it out in smaller vans. It's just truck-to-truck distribution.
So, again, traffic studies have been done. Can you just remind us approximately how many trucks and trips a day you anticipate coming in and out on that week?
So we focus on the peak hour, but again, you know, we conservatively oriented all of our truck traffic out to Mountain View Avenue, just because that would show the worst case impact on the intersection, and that if all the truck traffic was going out there and making a left turn, you know, that's the most conservative. The peak hours, those are summarized on page 8 of our report in table 4. You can see that the peak hour truck traffic is 2 trucks in the weekday morning peak hour and 3 trucks in the weekday evening peak hour. That's, I apologize, that's trips.
That's trips.
Yes, that's a good question.
Okay.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
He said,
Want to move the mic up?
2 trips, not 2 trucks.
2 trips.
Okay, you know, again, it's been noted that there's really no way to enforce, you know, trucks are making the wrong turn, even though the signs are saying, you know, the left turn or wherever, so we don't really have a way to enforce that unless there's an officer kind of sitting there, which is not feasible, so that's a concern.
We designed the driveways to be physically restrictive. Again, as I described earlier, the radius on Mountain View Avenue driveway is notably more restrictive on the northwest corner. When you compare it to the northeast corner, you can see it's a much wider radius to facilitate those truck maneuvers coming in for the trucks heading westbound on Mountain View Avenue. And the radius on the northwest corner is a lot tighter. We're also stopping a widening at the driveway, so the road will go back to its existing width. And that was really by design. You know, we didn't want to encourage trucks to continue west on Mountain View Avenue by continuing that widening further west of the driveway. So, again, it was really through conversations with Mr. Dean, DEM, and everyone else, it was thoroughly thought through.
And the widening of Mountain View, so could you show me whose property is going to be impacted by the widening and, yeah, like how, where's the widening coming from, who are you taking property from?
So there's actually enough room within the existing right-of-way to facilitate the widening. That was one of why we had several meetings with Mr. Dean. They were able to provide us with some additional right-of-way information and some mapping, so we were able to lay it out and confirm that there is sufficient right-of-way currently along Mountain View Avenue, so that widening is going to occur on both sides of the road, but all within the right-of-way.
The one side of the road, there's a wall, right?
There is a tip for the shopping center.
Is there, yeah.
It's-
What's gonna happen with that?
It's gonna be maintained, so that wall's on private property, so there is separation from the wall to the right of way. So it'll be maintained in its current configuration.
That's my questions for right now, so you're from the public.
Mr. McCrory.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, a lot of stuff here, so I'm just gonna ask a couple questions and then, move it on and get back to you. But one thing I just wanna point out, Mr. Andrews' concerns about the turning radius was kind of brushed aside. You guys had so much time to prepare for this meeting, and you don't bring the diagram to show the truck turning radius that everybody's concerned about, with safety, and if it's, can actually make these turns without crossing over into the other lane. Because there are diagrams here that show that it's crossing into the other side of the road, and we haven't seen a truck turning into the site. Like Mr. Andrews pointed out, with a truck sitting there, how does he make that turn with a truck sitting there coming out on the driveway of, onto Mountain View? That wasn't my initial question, but I understand you guys just said, oh, we submitted it, and we're not showing you guys today.
No, those were submitted prior to even the November 8th, 2022 meeting, and that was like, there was no comment because it worked, so you know.
Who was it submitted to?
The town, and it
To
was
us?
reviewed, yeah.
Yes, and the
yeah.
traffic consultant has reviewed it.
Yeah.
And we have concerns about that because you didn't show us trucks coming out of the site and turning
Yeah, we have those have
Your
all been
consultant,
submitted.
AKRF has been fully engaged.
Yeah.
to do it. You should
But
ask
no,
them.
they've been submitted to the town.
You have to present to us, and we have to make decisions. So, Mr. Andrews' concerns about these turning radius should be taken very seriously, and not say, oh, we submitted it in November. You're at the biggest meeting of this, at this, for
Yes.
this project.
Yes.
We expanded the road, and your consultants here that reviewed all of that work.
Okay, then, I didn't wanna get into this, but since
It
we're
works.
talking, so there's a plan here that shows the truck crossing into the other side of the road. Are you aware of that?
That's
We
Mount.
are, and so
Yes.
you can see on there, the stop line will be relocated to the south. This has been discussed with DOT, and they agreed that any stop line adjustments that are required as a result of the road widening would be handled as part of the full detailed design review, which would be handled after any approval that the board, if the board was to grant.
Alright, so this board doesn't have an updated truck turning radius to review.
That is,
That's what you're looking at.
that is.
Alright, and this shows the truck turning into the oncoming traffic, so that remains?
No,
It also shows the stop bar being moved back.
yeah,
If it's
That's
approved.
Right, but that's where we're at, like, the full intersection design has to be submitted to DOT for permit review and approval. That can only happen after we already have their conceptual approval of the plan, which we have in the letter. We have to do the design.
Jesse, if I,
Yeah.
Jimmy Dean and myself attended multiple meetings with DOT as well as AKRP president. And I specifically asked that question. DOT does not, will not, and has never given an approval for an intersection upgrade prior to a municipality approving a project. They will not spend the time to review and issue a permit if the municipality has not accepted the actual project. With that said, when and if the board moves for an approval, that can be a very well detailed condition of the approval. So again, once approval is given by this board, there is typically months, if not sometimes years, that the applicant has to go to all of these other outside agencies, which the town, the planning board, the building department, we have no control over their actions. If the applicant cannot obtain approval from those outside agencies, the plan will not get stamped by the department, and the chairman will not sign it, and therefore, no permit can be issued. And if it takes more than 2 years, their approval runs out. So, it is on the applicant to meet the requirements of those other agencies to get their approval, or this project's not going anywhere. And again, I've asked it of DOT, I tried to get something from them, they refused.
Thank you for clearing that up. Just to reiterate, truck safety is a big part of what we look at for the community. For our kids driving to the college, the families going to see oil games in the restaurants. So to not have that presented to us right now is concerning. I'd like to see more. Yeah, I know that there's so much stuff here. Stuff came in 5 hours ago, stuff came in today. There's a lot of stuff here. So next time I'd like to see all those turning radiuses up to date or whatever you got. 'Cause like I said, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Totally.
But truck safety is a huge concern for this town and for this board, so maybe present that, just to alleviate our concerns. Now to my real questions. All right, yeah, so we've been looking at this property for a long time. And, so many studies have been done. But anybody that lives in this town knows the problems with this corridor, and in this corridor is this intersection. So you have the 3-3 overlay. People knew there was a problem over 20 years ago. It's based on truck traffic, and what they did, they tried to limit the size of these warehouses, the small warehouses, less truck traffic, less impact on the neighborhood, right? And within that corridor, there's a bunch of intersections, and by your own studies, you realize this is the worst intersection in the worst part of town for this project. I know it's a speculation, and I wonder, who speculated that this would be a place to build a warehouse and a trucking hub right here in this town? And with the amount of time you spent and all that, you probably would have had 2 warehouses built by now in an appropriate area. This has been going on for years. So we're looking at this again. The intent is clear with the overlay, that they were just concerned about the effects on the neighborhood. And that's what it's all about here, you know, how this truck traffic affects neighborhoods, it affects environment, noise. And you did your noise, your air and noise study, looking at this. The original study was done a year ago, 2023. Since then, there's been how many revisions?
I think the one submitted is number 4, maybe?
Number 4, and one came in 2 days ago. All right, so I didn't get a chance to look at that. We requested a little more time so we could actually do some research. So I'm looking at the one from February 14, 2024, so a couple weeks ago. So if there's anything that I'm missing or changed, just let me know.
Yep.
And in that, you talk about, I'll just go quick on the air quality. You mentioned there's a couple facilities, emission sources, that are not considered major sources of emissions. And you guys list, one is the Louvre Plastic Division. So you listed that as not considered major source of emissions. Once again, if you live in this town, you would know that's a big issue in this town. It's been ongoing for a long time. But I do like you, the note you put in here, a FOIL request was submitted to the New York City DEC to obtain air emission modeling. As of the issuance date of this report, you didn't receive any documentation. So this report was a year ago. And you still haven't received anything on the roof from New York State DEC?
The prior report had all of the paperwork that we did receive. It is substantial.
Yeah.
So
you realize the roof was a big problem for the town?
yeah,
All right. So, and you're knowing it's not considered a major source of emissions, but as we know, a roof is a big source of emissions in this town. And your air quality test, who did these tests for you?
the tests themselves.
Yeah.
Some consultant in our firm did the modeling in there.
All right. Are they based on the New York City DEC air monitoring program?
Yeah, so the most recent version of the report was revised to include the updated table there, which also was in conversations with AKRF and the newest regulations. Some of the EPA had newer numbers, so that was put in, and then also later on in the report, the screening analysis, because ultimately what the report outlines is that, you know, this project is not meet any of the thresholds or contributing to the thresholds of the report. And that was the reason for a lot of the revisions along the way, was the, you know, I guess, to what extent should we be going down all of the monitoring, studying, if we, you know, didn't hit the first threshold. And so at the last go-round, the report you have there, AKRF reviewed it. We had another phone call, kind of went through it, and then basically went through the full screening analysis and got to the conclusion that we all had maintained at the beginning, and they agreed, but, you know, wanted us to go through all the steps in the report itself. So that is what
McCrory,
it's
I can agree that I was in that call.
Yeah,
And
and that's in the
that was
revision.
Friday.
Yeah.
But that's the reason, that's the, AKRF requested additional information on a call on Friday. They provided it on Monday, and AKRF, that's why the letter came today.
And that letter came when, today?
From
AKRF.
So once again, we don't have information that we have to make a decision on here.
Right, right, but
this
so you understand, Mr. McCrory, it was the planning board's consultant that asked for that information.
Yeah.
All right,
I just
just so
need that
you're aware,
information
it
so I
wasn't
can-
like the applicant said, well, I got more information now. When
No, I-
AKRF did the review of
Totally agree.
the 14th memo,
Yeah, I just can't review it for this meeting.
there's a follow-up meeting, and that was requested.
So this line here, the nearest air quality monitoring station to the project is located 9 miles north on South Mountain Road in Rockland County. Is that still a true statement?
Yeah, that's the New York DEC.
All right, and that's where you
air
got,
monitoring. So that's where all the data is like
so 9
collected
miles
from.
away is where you got the data for.
That's
for-
Certified it's a close
Yeah.
station.
So you didn't do it, so on the new revision, your air monitoring stations are closer in the neighborhood?
Well, it's still that data, but the purpose is the model is run with the proposed project being a
9 miles away.
No, here, at our site, we don't hit the thresholds anywhere close.
All right,
That's what's contained in the report.
all right. And now into, the traffic. It seems like you added a traffic study from Dynamic into this report, right?
So,
Is that what these numbers are?
so that's added in because in that specific section, which again is revised,
Yeah.
or contains more information, I should say, carries through the rest of the steps. It's a New York State DOT model that they run, or an analysis. And so step one is what happens to the level of service at the intersections? Okay, are they C or worse? Okay, next step, and the analogy that the AKRF consultant used on the phone was, it's basically like a sieve, this analysis. You remove these parts, then you go to the next step. So all of the emissions associated with this project, the vast majority being generated would be from the trucks. You know, the facility itself is, you know, largely warehouse. There's a couple thousand square feet of office in the one corner that has one rooftop unit, you know? There's no other emissions as part of it. So so the traffic is included as a starting basis to be like, here's what the traffic says, this is the screening, and that's how DEC requires you
No,
to do it.
it makes sense, because the truck traffic and the emissions is a big concern.
Which is why they have the idling laws, you know, that were, you know.
Who enforces those idle laws? you mentioned?
Well, enforce their DEC regulation, and there's a county one which is even more stringent.
All right, but,
I don't know if county sheriff.
no, nobody enforces that, just like nobody enforces the trucks coming over the mountain, so. The enforcement is kind of a joke when it comes to that. But I'm saying, for these, the level of service numbers you got from the dynamic traffic study and plugged them in here, there was a new traffic, well,
Correct.
was there a new
correct.
traffic
Yes.
study done?
No. Well, no.
Ah.
The December 22nd traffic study is the one that is reflected in the most current,
Most current.
which
Okay.
includes the Mountain View widening. So
Wait, you
I-
did a traffic study based on the Mountain View widening?
So, yeah, so I mentioned this before, but I'll so if you,
Do we have that?
you do,
Yes.
you do, you've had it since December. So, now, I mean, I can let Corey do it, but I'll try and do it layman's terms as best I can. But previously, we did not have the widening at Mountain View Avenue, right? So it was a single lane, you know, going out to 303. That creates delays at that traffic lane, right? With trucks or whoever trying to make a left-hand turn, having to wait. With the ability to widen Mountain View, it allows us to do a fully dedicated left turn lane. So now, cars that are going straight or turning right don't have to wait. So that then was modeled in the traffic study. And what you see there is the level of service, which in the old report was a degradation, is now the same. And actually, if you look at the dynamic traffic report, the actual timing is a slight improvement over a no-build condition.
All right. I was gonna bring that up, because in your report, you say the revised study shows the proposed development with mitigation will result in no change to the level of service.
Correct.
So this terrible intersection that's rated in F is gonna remain in F.
Correct.
So after all this effort and money and changes, it's still gonna be the worst intersection in our town? Rated by New York State as an F?
Yes, but if the project does not happen, it would be worse. Regardless, just with the traffic being added to
But
the
there'll be
intersection.
less truck traffic making it worse, right?
Yeah, but the
If
truck
it
traffic's
sits there
not,
as
the
a
truck
vacant-
traffic's not what's impacting this the most. So what we're doing is, and quite honestly, I mean, this applicant's going above and beyond what they, would be required to do for a development of this magnitude. The money that they're spending upgrading Mountain View Avenue, the widening of the bridge culvert, the mitigation on 303, the tying the signals together, the modems, all these things that they're doing to improve operations are really, as Jesse mentioned, we get the brunt of other developments that are approved in the area, not just in Orangetown, but up and down the 303 corridor. It obviously increases background traffic. what we're trying to do is mitigate our impacts, and we're actually mitigating beyond our impacts, because like Jesse mentioned, we're actually improving it beyond what it is operating at today. So, like for instance, the backup on Mountain View Avenue. The backup on Mountain View Avenue today goes past the driveway to that shopping center. Under this proposal, with these improvements, the backup will be all contained within this storage zone, within those turn lanes. So that backup, even with the development of this, even with the trucks, it's not gonna go beyond that driveway.
But the backup now is college kids and workers going to work. You're saying you're gonna add tractor trailers to this backup. So I don't, that's your argument, but
It's not an argument, sir. It's based on the analytical formulas. It's been reviewed by the Department of Transportation. It's been reviewed by the town's traffic consultant, and there was even an independent traffic study done by a third consultant, and it verified
I'm
these
looking at,
conclusions.
I'm looking at your own words. It will result in no change to the level of service.
So there's no degradation, meaning it's not gonna get any
An
worse.
F remains an F.
Well, you cannot change an F to an E with.
That's, all right, thank you for bringing that up, all right.
I mean, it's,
So,
and that's not
so-
the obligation of an applicant.
are you with the,
I'm
do the
a
traffic?
counsel.
All right.
I understand traffic.
So what's the range in the F category? Like, I know E goes up to, there's a number after that, right? When you do a traffic study, you have the D, E,
Sure.
and then you have the number in parentheses after that. What does that number in parentheses stand for?
Average vehicle delay.
Average vehicle delay. So if something is rated E, 79, what does that mean? What does that 79 mean?
That means that the average delay experienced by a vehicle is 79 seconds.
79 seconds would be the delay at that light, at that.
For that movement on average, correct.
So for something from an E to an F, it'll only take 1 second change, right? 79 or 80 becomes 81.
So the threshold between level of service E and F is from 80 to 81 seconds.
Yeah. So that'll be a change in rating, but technically it's just 1 second. It's not that big of a deal. But for an F, you can have an F81 to an F240, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. You can have an F360, technically.
You could.
It just remains an F, there's nothing worse than F. So if something is an F80 and becomes a 240, technically that became 3 times worse at that intersection.
It is, but at that point, we look at the average vehicle delay. So we would look at it going from 80 to 240 and say, well, the average vehicle delay increased by a magnitude of 3, and therefore there's an impact because of the increase in average vehicle delay. It doesn't, like you mentioned perfectly, you could be in a situation where you have a level service C, and it's at 34.9 seconds, and then it goes up by 0.2 seconds, 0.2 of a second, it goes to 35.2, it goes to D. It goes from C to a D, but it's a 0.2 of a second increase in delay.
So that number of parentheses is important.
It is.
Look at the overall change.
That's correct.
That's why when you tell us an F to an F, nothing's changed, it could be an F80 to an F240, which realistically has gotten worse.
Well, except you've got that.
Yeah, so the traffic study has, understood it's not in the air quality report, but
It's very limited.
sure,
But
it
what
is
wasn't
in,
for that?
it is in the traffic study, so we're actually showing a 2-second reduction in the overall intersection delay.
And that traffic study was based on 2021 numbers?
It's been grown to assume the 2023 numbers.
223, so those are still old numbers, right? Because it's 2024 now.
Well, we also had to do a 2043 analysis, so we had to look 20 years in the future.
So all these numbers are kind of lower than they are in reality. But did
So-
you see the Creighton Manning independent traffic study?
I did.
So that they don't just have an overall intersection, they show you each different intersection, eastbound, westbound, northbound, southbound.
We have that as well.
Yeah, so they give you more information, they'll show you that under the, we'll use the 150 right now, right? So they'll show you that the eastbound, the westbound Mountain View Avenue is an F139. In the future becomes an F247. Under the 156 code, 142 becomes 254. So that second number is important. So an independent traffic study shows you, while it's an F, this intersection has gotten worse, based on the traffic, your traffic study. And throughout your report, you kind of say, hey, level of service hasn't changed, so everything's fine, which is not true, because the F is getting a worse F.
What if I may clarify, because what you just said actually is inaccurate. So if you look on page 9, table 6 of our report, we have the same information. So we have the level of service, the letter grade, and then in parentheses, we have the average vehicle delay. It's all broken down by movement. And you can see in the individualized movements, specifically if you look at the weekday evening peak hour, under no-build condition, the westbound left through right turn on Longview Avenue, under no-build conditions, so in its current configuration, has a 141-second average vehicle delay. With the improvement we're proposing, that average vehicle delay is reduced to 114 seconds, so it's a reduction in how it is today with the additional traffic when you consider the improvements. The average overall intersection delay goes down from 87 seconds to 85 seconds, so there is a reduction again in the average vehicle delay of the overall intersection with consideration of the improvements.
But it's minute.
Well, we can't have this both ways. You can't say that if it's an increase, but if it's a decrease, if it's not significant, it's minute. It's still an improvement, which again, is the state and your own consultant agree that that's more than sufficient mitigation for this development.
But it's not gonna make the intersection a better intersection.
It's not our responsibility to make it better, it's our responsibility to mitigate our impacts.
And it's our responsibility to make sure that the intersection is the safest it can be and with concerns of truck traffic as well.
My recommendation would have been, that as all these developments come into town, they need to be looking at these intersections, because we've sat through numerous applications in these board meetings that have been approved, and to my recollection, no one's done improvements on Route 303. So all those developments are impacting traffic on Route 303.
If anything can come out of this, DOT should realize this
Maybe since this
intersection.
application, but it's not totally correct.
We'll get to that. DOT should improve this intersection, regardless of the project, Especially, and it is I'll move on, because I've made my point that an F, staying in F is not an improvement in my eyes. But all this mitigation, it's gonna result in no change in the level of service.
But the Creighton Manor report's dated, it doesn't have the new improvements.
You know what, that's a good point. We should get an updated independent
No,
traffic study.
You haven't been, if I could just say, we have been through, I've probably been through 8 meetings, and I'm not involved in traffic directly. Elaine at AKRF is your traffic consultant. Ashley Lee is another planning consultant. They have watched each one of these steps, and they're ready to talk to you, provide guidance, they provided memos. They've indicated, and DOT has indicated acceptance of these improvements at our cost, which is at least making it slightly better. It's not gonna, you could not improve this intersection. It has traffic. We're not making it any worse. And that's what we're doing. So it's gonna live the same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one question. Does the improvement on the traffic light and everything, does that include a left-hand turn arrow going on to 303?
It does not.
It just includes the left-hand turn lane.
Correct. The DOT's initial opinion was that they didn't want a left turn arrow installed in that approach, but they agreed that they would reevaluate it under the full design review.
So it's possible that there could become.
It's possible there could be. Again, it would be addressed under their full detailed design review. They indicated based on their conceptual review, they didn't want to consider that.
How much influence do you have on that?
How much influence do we have? I would say you have more than
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll move on. I'll limit my question to that right now. I'll listen to the rest of the boards, and then I'll come back.
If anybody else has comments at the end of everybody's comments, you can just go ahead, please.
All right, again, there's a lot of information here. We have, I think we have 4 copies of the air quality and noise studies, so I do acknowledge your commitment to review comments and work this out, and I also support the commitment to widening Western Highway. I think, we can concur that. What did I just volunteer for? Sorry. I think it's all, we can agree that, the current condition could not handle this truckload. So without widening Western Highway, right? I'm sorry, sorry. This is just it's not sustainable. So I do acknowledge that you guys are looking into that. I just have a couple of questions. So I think, I'm gonna read it because I'm gonna mess it up again. Sorry, so I'm concerned about the structural integrity of Mountain View Avenue. The repetitive left-hand turns of these 40-ton trucks. You're saying about 2 trucks, roughly, one of your calculations in one of these books, at about 2 to 3 trucks an hour, 16 hours a day, 365 days a week. that's 11 to 17 a year. God, oh my God, I'm sorry. It's like a that's, I know. That's like over 11,000 trucks that you're now introducing into this roadway. And there's like a high potential for those trucks that are all gonna be making left-hand turns to degrade that street, right? Like to cause damage, cause running, cause all kinds of damage, which would, you know, cause impacts to the way the water would drain down that street, might cause cracks, potholes, water to infiltrate the creek. So I think you did say you were gonna.
We're gonna reconstruct it fully.
Okay. You're reconstructing from your turning lane to the culvert project?
To the intersection. So the culvert project is in between. There's a little bit of widening that would be done beyond the culvert, and then from the culvert west all the way back to our driveway, completely reconstructed.
That's 100% on this project
Yes,
to do?
correct.
Okay, so when you're offering that $100,000 as incremental cost associated with the 7-foot expansion, what is that?
So that was specific to the widening. There's additional efforts that need to be done to widen the culvert. So the culvert is going to be widened 7 feet wider than the current configuration to accommodate that additional road. So that was specific to that. Beyond that, the applicant has agreed to completely reconstruct and widen Mountain View Avenue to the commercial width and the commercial pavement spec. There's the off-site improvements to the 303 intersection, so there's some cameras, modems, other things that need to be done there. And they've also agreed through detailed design review with the DOT, if anything additional comes up with the traffic signal that needs to be done, they've agreed to fund that too. So all of that will be funded solely by the applicant.
Okay. That was a lot of the comments kind of were addressed already. So the other thing you talked about, examples of green practices that you're gonna be including in this warehouse? Can you give us some examples?
Sure thing. So we have a couple of bioretention basins. And we also, as part of that for pre-treatment, have some vegetated swales, some grass filter strips, and I think in Mr. Peters' letter, or I had mentioned the water quality volume that we are providing. He is looking for some additional measures, which I think we can accommodate through, it's more of a structural practice, but kind of like a manhole filter upstream of the basins themselves as like another layer of water quality, so.
Would you consider like green roofs or anything like that, especially on a structure this size that has a significant,
Green roof isn't something we would consider, but we are, the applicant is definitely interested in solar and, providing, I think, EV charging parking spaces on the site too, any of that type of, green initiatives as well.
Okay. I have so many notes everywhere here, I don't know if I'll be able to find them. Again, it's just like without widening this road, I just don't think this is a feasible.
Mr. Dean demanded that.
Okay.
And in truth, the fact that the town, he told us, we didn't know that, the town had acquired the land we could put the extra road on. And that unlocked that whole expansion, then it was just a matter of money. And the client okayed it from our driveway down. And then the culvert project is in for state money that will grant to the town. They'll pay for that, we'll pay for the other, through the additional payment on top of it. So it's an expensive little improvement, Matt.
Right. And I guess one of the things he said, I can't find it right now, was like the 100,000 was, your WPP, this project-specific contribution to that culvert widening. And then any additional costs associated with that, you kind of said would be for other residents or commercial properties to contribute, and you would, kind of at a percentage. So that just seemed like.
So I think that was from a prior correspondence with DOT where we were looking at everything, and this was even before, I think, the property and the widening of Mountain View came up, but it was something that, along the lines of what Corey alluded to earlier about, a traffic wide improvement district, but I don't think that's legal, so
No.
that
Okay.
was
Yep.
nixed.
No,
So
Okay.
that's why the funding is from us.
Okay, all right, just wanted to clarify.
But,
Yeah. I think I'm good for now, I will let other people speak.
Mr. Ferry?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add
Sure.
something before Mr. Barry. I would just like to comment that there really has been a lot of work from the applicant and AKRF in the last week or two. And I think part of the problem we have here is Mr. McQuarrie and everyone's asking very good questions, but a lot of the work has been done in the last few days or the last week, so it's not necessarily productive, I think. And I'm gonna suggest, in talking to AKRF, given the complexity and the importance of this project, AKRF, I believe, would like to present something in writing summarizing all the work that has been accomplished and their recommendation as to significance. And I think that would be of great use to this board, the public, and the applicant. So what I think
Would address a lot of.
probably makes sense is that, and we don't have to do it now, but if the applicant would, and we're gonna continue, we're gonna hear from the public, but if the applicant would ask for a continuation with the understanding that AKRF, again, they're our consultant, they're looking out for the town's best interests. And they have talented people in noise, traffic. If they present something well organized and the board members can call them up and have discussions, so at the next meeting, everyone is very organized and has all that information, which it appears that we don't have, we may be able to streamline today's meeting and then at the next meeting be more productive.
Right, well, we have the information, the point is that it would be
It hasn't been
organized.
digested yet.
Counselor, there are questions here that have nothing to do with
Correct.
these
And
reports.
And we're gonna go on with that
And
and
we're
have this
gonna go
meeting,
on
but
with
I
that,
just
yes.
think if everyone
But you
understands
make a
that
very
there's
good
gonna be
point.
no secret done today, if the applicant is okay with that, and I understand that they may want secret, but I think it makes sense for everyone, if there's a continuation and everyone has time to digest everything, and at the next meeting, would just be much more productive instead of, this board has not had the opportunity to digest stuff that has happened in the last few days.
Well, we have stuff here that's been going on since November of 2022. So there's
Right.
a lot of information that would still
Yeah.
likely.
But just if everyone has the understanding that
Yes.
nothing is really gonna be decided today, ask your question.
I think that's the next one.
You're right. I think Counselor's point is, all that information will be comprised into a statement and summary by AKRF of the entire, how all of this happened over the last couple of years, and how we are at this point, and what the result was.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the applicant, I think that's an excellent idea. There is a lot of information. I don't blame Mr. McQuarrie or anybody else for getting confused. I've gotten confused on some of this stuff.
Peer review, yes.
Okay? So, yes, we would ask for that continuation, but we want, obviously, to allow the public to speak, to allow the rest of the meeting to go forward.
Members of the board still have some
Right,
questions.
absolutely, but we will consent to that continuation.
It sounds quite good. All right, thank you. Mr. Ferry.
Mr. McCullough stole my comments. I appreciate the fact that, you guys have been here for a long time and you put all this work together, right? We haven't had enough time to review it. The intersection can't stay as it is, right? And that building is not doing any, the abandoned building in the back is not doing anything good for anybody out here either, right? So to AKRF's point and their presentation, what I would like to see at the next one is some type of phasing, right? This is what's gonna happen first, and this is the creek rehabilitation. And then the next phase is going to be and that's gonna be a lot more palatable to the board and to the public, I think, so the better job that AKRF and yourselves, put that together, I think it's gonna be, well worth it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I've been away from this project for a couple of years now, but it seems like not much has changed since then. It's almost like it's a Groundhog Day, Just keep rehashing the same stuff. I don't understand why you're putting a new road, a new access road that goes out to 303, why there can't be a light there on 303. You guys have opposed that from the beginning. From the beginning.
Well,
No, that's
DOT.
I get DOT, but DOT, I don't
No,
believe.
they will not allow it. It's
I
their road.
don't believe that. I don't believe that.
We've had meetings with them.
The planning board,
No,
the
had
planning
meetings
board
with
got
them.
them to put the
They
light
said
in
no.
for Lowe's, that came from the planning board. We had to put in
They said there's
light
too many lights
up
along
at,
there.
FedEx, we made them put that light.
Yeah, Bruce,
We made them put the turning lane.
we
on.
spoke specifically to them about
They
this,
spoke.
so not doing
They
it.
said no, period.
But
Renshaw's-
I'm not a fan of,
They're too close together,
Coming
that
in
is the
right.
issue.
That's the issue.
how can they even say that? Look
That's
at,
what they
look
said.
at
They're
Orange,
DOT and it's their
Orangeburg
road.
Road
I
and
was thinking-
340,
I was
there's
in
nothing closer than those
conversation
two
with
lights. There's no problems there at Orangeburg
Bruce,
Road
there's-
and
you know,
340,
Bruce,
there's none.
Bruce, you
None.
know that this planning board has no jurisdiction over DOT.
I get it, no. But
We've had
the applicant-
as the chairman
somehow
said-
those other projects were able to get it done, and
As
those
the-
projects got approved.
But
So,
you have to
That's
look
all I'm
at
saying.
each one as a specific problem. And they looked at this problem and the answer was no. And that's it. We can't, this planning board cannot force DOT to do anything. Like I said, I made multiple requests for them to approve their proposed improvements, and they told me no, they will not do it. So if they're not gonna provide that to the town, they're definitely not gonna move on installing a whole nother intersection, a light, they're not gonna do it.
well,
They've already, how many times did they say it?
You're
well, the
chairman.
applicant was paying for it, I'm sure they would do it, you know. That's what happened in the other cases, the applicant paid for it, you know.
There
I'll
are,
tell you that right now.
there are,
That's what happened.
there are roadway development requirements that must be met, and putting that light there, it would not need it.
So we talked to DOT.
So there, it even goes to,
Sir,
just,
I think we're good.
I've never seen a traffic study that's been done in my whole
Okay,
time.
any other questions, Mr. Pons? Any other questions?
I'm not in favor of this project,
We're gonna have a few questions.
as it's currently drawn
tonight.
up anyway, let's put it that way.
Few questions. Back in 2022, on two occasions, board requested you submit soil analysis of the sites due to the fact that Beckton, Dickerson, Schwartzman Chemical Company occupied 13 Mountain View Avenue. You submitted reports for the PV planning board of 11/8/23. Phase 1 environmental site assessments were dated 12/20 and 1/21 by Wank Associates Incorporated. Further, Phase 2 subsurface investigation report dated 10/18/19 prepared for Michael Hahn Lee Esquire by Delphi Environmental Incorporated. Why weren't these reports submitted to the board when we requested them?
That was the next submission we made, that was the next submission we made.
We asked, we asked that, and first, the second meeting in 2022 was 11/9. We asked for it then, and we asked for it at a prior meeting too. And these reports are dated way back.
Yeah, then 11/9 was when I think we were here, Mr. Andrews asked for them.
No, I asked for them on 2 occasions, and Mr. Andrews did too. I just want to know why we never got those reports at that time.
Well, we submitted them after the 11/9 one, I don't know why they weren't submitted originally.
Part of the acquisition due diligence, we understood the soils were fine, we got you the report. I mean, this is a responsible partnership, and you never buy real estate without looking at the
So
soil.
that's why I didn't
Especially if-
understand why you just didn't give us the reports right back.
Sorry.
The executive summary of the Delphi report, page 4, bullet 2 states, 2 hexanon and benzene were detected from S12 concentration at 0.004 milligrams per kilogram and 0.33 milligrams per kilogram respectively. The report states that benzene is below the New York State DEC commercial of 0.06. Also, phase 1 environmental data 12/20, page 8, appendix H, under findings states the same figures based on Delphi's findings. So what it was saying there was that it was not significant. However, 0.33 is greater than 0.06. Somehow they've changed it in their report.
I don't think that's accurate, because it was done multiple
Yeah, I know,
times
and
there,
this is what they have.
I'll double check it, but it's been
No,
closed out.
I read the figures several times. If you want, I can pull out the book and show you, but that's what it was. So that's a problem with that, with your findings, okay? Because 0.33 is much larger than 0.06,
Mhm.
whatever reason, okay? So, know if the DEC guidelines changed of concentrations over the past 4 years, since that report was done?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, the summary, page 4, bullet 4, said no PCB compounds were detected from S9 and GW9 samples. My question is, why weren't all 21S and 19 GW boring tested for PCB compounds?
I'll have to get you that answer.
Please. Appendix A of the executive summary shows location samples taken on the perimeter of the old structure foundation area. Question, why weren't any samples taken from under the old foundation for borings through the foundation?
They were probably just done on the exterior, you know, I'm sure they can do additional tests, but I don't think the report found anything in the surrounding areas that would indicate that there was migration of anything. It was closed out, so.
Yeah, would have been nice to have that. Appendix H lists 21S and 19 GW borings findings. Toluene-D8 was found at most locations on the site. Signer Aldrich describes it as an aromatic solvent, highly biotoxic and lethal to microorganisms, and can be used as a steroid. Okay. Fountain County Planning 6 speaks about the Sparkhill Creek. The site is of the Sparkhill Creek watershed. It's less than 300 feet from the west of the new project. The creek is listed on New York State list of impaired waters, and adverse impacts must be considered. Also, secret handbook, if waste is unearthed, etc. Will demolition of the structure, the foundation, as well as any new construction, cause unearthing of chemicals due to prior contamination as listed in the assessment, and noted prior to such as Toluene-D8?
So the report does indicate that they were
They're low,
low. And
however,
so, but as indicated in the report in the conclusions, they have to put into place a soil management plan that identifies these potential things and what is to be done if encountered.
yeah, well, that's it, because it is there, that's in their findings.
It has to exceed the level to then warrant.
Well, that's the question, is, my question is, even though those are low and wouldn't affect people, we're talking about Sparkhill Creek, which is an impaired waterway. And any runoff, and my thing is, how would you prevent runoff from the site that could pollute the Sparkhill Creek? As per Rockland County Planning 7, which also states the entranceway for 303 is within the creek's gravity and buffer or bank of the water course. So that's something that has to be.
Well, you said two things.
Yes, two things. One is from the site itself during demolition. The other one would be also on the driveway portion too.
Sure. So I believe one of Mr. Peters' comments too was that the soil management plan has to be identified in the SWIP.
Right.
So that's part of it. So obviously the erosion control measures get put in place from a stormwater runoff standpoint.
Right.
Silt fence,
Yeah,
silt socks,
right, but-
all of that.
Right,
But in addition, with the soil management plan, that outlines for the contractor, if you encounter this, soil has to be handled X, Y, and Z way, right? So all of that is also then ready at the site should those things happen.
Right, well, I'm just saying that this is in the soil, if we start getting runoff, and we don't know the concentrations underneath, that's why I asked about the borings underneath the old base. I mean, whatever, that water, you haven't finished that part of the slip yet, or has that been handed in? Bruce Peters,
Well, the soil management plan hasn't been fully developed yet, because we also don't have the full site plan, and also now, you know, with the, construction phasing we wanna talk about too, like that also impacts it. We worked pretty closely, with Mr. Peters on the onset for the construction phasing of the site, because also we wanna make sure the erosion control's in place first, right, and then step through demolition of the building, you know, all of that, so.
well, the other reason I asked it too was the Rockland County Planning number 22, 1824, The town must be satisfied that the analysis and resolutions of phase one environmental site assessment and so on are compliant with all federal and state requirements. You know, and any outstanding environmental concerns are fully addressed. So that was why we didn't have, you know, if we had gotten soil samples earlier and looked at it and had a meeting, we probably would ask for a consultant. That would have been mine. I don't know what the rest of the board, mine would have been on that.
AKRF did review it, provided comments, and we did respond to those. So that's, and then there's been no other correspondence, so that's
Okay.
been addressed.
In which, there's so many of them. With the thing, if you remember which one, I would appreciate it.
The responses were, so, the responses were submitted September 15th, 2023. It was a letter from Stantec.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I read that one, but I didn't see that they were answering what I was looking at, so. All right, next thing is, looking at the site plan that you gave us, right? And the area west of the building, the new site plan, going towards the railroad tracks. And it's very, I mean, so much on that plan, it's very difficult to see. It's extremely light and very hard to read. What's the elevation of the railroad tracks in comparison to the?
So we did also include in the submission in September a western property line exhibit, is what it was called, where it was zoomed in. I do have that with me too. I'll just put it up just
Yeah,
for
because the last plans I have are from, go back to,
March 30th.
that's
It's just
right,
like-
March
yeah,
30th.
This was a standalone one-of-one exhibit that was submitted in September in response to the comments from PRC and planning. But the rail bed, so it's zoomed in.
On the other side?
So this is, you can tell, the zoomed in version of kind of the aerial with the site plan and the landscaping overlaid on top.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, so the rail bed is actually down at elevation 99,
Okay.
and the grade actually slopes up from there. As you know, Mountain View Avenue has the bridge that goes over
Right.
the railroad there, so, and then slopes back down. So the building itself is at elevation 105, is the finished floor there. Then we have the parking lot, and then we have the retaining wall, which, again, the bottom of the wall is about 105 or so. And then the top of the wall is like 114, 115. And then there's 20 feet or so to the property line, and then there's probably another 30 feet from the property line to the rail bed itself, where it looks
Yeah,
kind of like the high point is almost the property line.
Right, I
almost.
saw that map, but it didn't answer the questions I'm looking at, so. What I'm looking at here is, first of all, okay, the distances are very hard to determine on that map, you can't really, but the other map, it's very hard to determine the exact distances from the wall of the building to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
The meets and bounds of the easement that runs through there,
Mhm.
which runs along the whole back, north to south.
Yep.
You have the parking area,
Mhm.
and other stuff in there, so what I like it, and I think hopefully the members of the board agree, with me, I'm looking for a blow up of that area. Not like that.
I can do that with the black and white.
The black and white be much better, but
Sure.
showing the exact distances,
Yeah.
the height of the wall.
Yep.
As it goes from north to south, the total height of the wall. Okay?
Yep.
Also, when I'm looking at I was looking at it, I'm looking at the utility easement that's going along the back. That's the O&R easement.
Yep.
Okay. It appears to me that you're planting on top of the O&R easement.
Mhm. That is permitted because it's existing, completely planted.
No, but you're planting trees on top and you're disturbing the easement.
Well, we're in the easement, yes, but that's just the plantings on the top there, and the easement rights there, I believe I checked, is allow further plantings there.
I'd like to see that submitted to us, exactly, and easements.
Mhm.
Also, you got a sewer easement, I think, that's running east to west
Yes,
on the south side of the building.
yes,
Okay, that runs up through the, underneath the railroad. Okay, now that's,
So it's way, way down.
okay, but you're building on top of that easement.
Correct.
The wall is gonna go on top of that easement,
Correct.
and I think, in Rockland County sewer,
Well, that's not a sewer, it's not a Rockland County sewer easement. Their easement is the one up on 303.
okay, the driveway, whose easement is that one, the
So
town?
that's kind of, we worked with Bruce to move it, and that was one of the main things he wanted in the sequence, is moving it.
Okay, where are we moving to? The other side of it?
Well, no, it's right here, and then it jogs, because right now, the proposed building is going like on the corner of it, but that's where it's moving, and he said, you gotta move that first, but he's good with everything else.
Okay, but the easement with O and R, you definitely have to,
We can share that.
okay, that was it, I'd like to see. Right, now, what is the last, the plans we're talking about, the last full plans are March 30th,
Correct.
which is, it's about a year ago,
Correct.
and there have been changes made to those plans.
So, there haven't been any site plan changes. Obviously, we have the comments from the fire inspector to relocate one of the fire hydrants a little bit closer to the driveway when they're coming in. That was Mr. Majewski's request.
Right.
And then there's a few, I think, technical comments to address some of Mr. Peters. I mentioned the manholes that we were gonna
Right.
install, but that would really be it from a site plan. Oh, and the wayfinding signage, the map note,
Right,
those things, those would be added.
okay. Now, just the question would be, what is the purpose of that retaining wall? It's gonna be, and it's height 13 feet, I think?
Yeah, so we could, what we're looking to do is obviously not disturb the railroad right away,
That's,
right? So we're trying to keep it far enough away, and we obviously need to keep the parking lot, at a certain grade, to service the facility. So that's kind of kept relatively flat, obviously, parking lot. And then, we're just up against there, so grading completely, we could look at, maybe doing some slope
how much,
option.
yeah, 'cause I'm wondering how much dirt is gonna be removed from that, in order to put the wall in there?
Well, it wouldn't be dirt that's removed, because we're cutting there.
Okay.
Well, you're right, it would be removed, but it would be removed either way.
Yeah.
This would keep more earth
Now,
there.
putting in this wall and digging it, is that going to, is your distance from the railroad tracks going to impact or destabilize the railroad tracks?
No,
Do we have an engineering report on that?
we provided that in one of the things here, but we are 60 feet away from it, it would not impact it at all.
Okay. Well, we have an
Because also it's lower, we're not even,
Right, yeah, okay. Just wondering, because we
Yes.
do not want
oh no.
derailment over there. There's some stuff that it carries.
Jesse, did you provide a cross-section through that area? I think it's something we talked about early
I
on. but
thought we did, but I can add it to the black and white
Yes,
exhibit.
I think that would be helpful. So that,
Definitely, cross
like
section.
taking a knife and cutting
Yep.
through,
Right.
so you'll see a side profile.
Yes.
Okay, there's so much back there, the original black and white plan is, very difficult. So you're gonna be thinking, you want stuff from Orangetown, Rockland, about planting on there,
Got it.
their easement, they can take into account with the trees and we plant there with some of the standards that brought up.
Yeah. And I'll look again at, grading instead of the full height of the wall. Maybe it's something, it's trickier when you do a slope to plant on a
Yeah,
slope,
okay, but no, it's something that you say, you have an engineering report that it won't destabilize the tracks or anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for, because it's the last thing, and I don't want the town to be liable for anything, approving anything without a backup.
Understood.
In fact, there's a CSX comments that are on the 330 map, so I don't think they've seen anything since that. Okay, again, sewer District 1, They comment, easement, the site plan should be revised to show more details regarding the sewer easement, since it looks like the planting of the trees, retaining wall, regarding that will be modifying the easement. So you're gonna have to find out from them, because that wall, I think, goes over the easement, the sewer line that goes under the railroad tracks, if I'm correct.
So I'm very.
It's hard to see it on that.
Yeah, because that easement there is the town of Orangetown, and that's what we're working on with Bruce.
Bruce, okay.
Their easement and their comment
Is
is the one out,
Okay,
parallel to
okay.
303.
All right,
And
so
we're not proposing any structures in their easement. You know, we have the driveway, and that may tie into the guide rail question that Mr. Andrews had,
yeah,
but.
is that, I think because the wall goes over the town sewer
Yes.
easement? Yeah, so he's gonna have to put a comment in there that there's no objection to that. Regarding the air quality and the noise studies, so it goes back quite a while, whatever. In the revised to 124 and 214, I was making the assumption it's also the current one. The Cayuga's Engineering and Design, page 3, under emission sources, you say the prevailing wind is northeast. What's the source of that comment?
I can get you that. It's this, they follow the DEC guidelines. I can get that for you.
And it says the time that it goes that way, and maybe if they had that, which way did the prevailing winds go the other time, is that right? Okay. And also, they mention it again on page 9, okay? And it says it doesn't, direction of any identified sensitive source receptors, and looking at the different things, phase 1 environmental, January 2021, page 14. Another place they list Dominican University, St. Catherine's School Early Childhood Center, TZ High Schools, St. Dominic's. Okay? So they're all within the half mile. I think one of the reports it states there's nothing within a half mile.
That was revised.
Okay, yeah,
So that all those were.
Yeah, the minimum was 2.74, which is a quarter, or 1,500 feet, I should say.
Point you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And St. Catherine's is 0.451, according to your maps and everything, so, okay. Now, you talk about on page 4 of the report, you write clean alternative fuels and new emission standards for heavy equipment will greatly reduce short-term air quality impacts. What fuels are we talking about? They say there.
I think that is and I'll get clarification for you on this for sure, but I think that is in line with, I'm gonna say relatively new DEC, air quality emission standards that trucks have to,
Well, that's the other thing, are we using new equipment, or are we using older equipment that doesn't comply with the new standards? That's just me. Still too much stuff. Okay, on page 9, same report, you say long-term, paragraph 1. You say, you talk about delivery vehicles, what are we talking about there? Are we talking about vans similar to what Amazon uses, or are we talking about the tractor trailers?
So the long-term section of the report was clarified to mean like operationally, right? Like, so, because there's a little bit of a distinction in short-term, long-term, like what does that mean? So that was clarified, but the delivery trucks in there, I can double check, but I believe that was just for the tractor trailers. There's no vans associated with this, other than UPS making a delivery.
Oh, okay,
to the site.
all right, but it's not gonna be like the Amazon site.
No. That was not modeled.
All right. you're still saying, oh, that's it, you made a comment earlier, or traffic consultant, Chase?
Yes, sir.
Right, Mr. Chase. You mentioned that, there's a note on the plans, the site plans regarding the use of that site would be an LUC 150.
That's correct.
Okay, which plan, is that the 330 plans, or?
It has to be added, because
Okay.
that was the discussion after
Oh,
that. point,
okay.
So yes, that's one of the,
Okay. When you have that, I'd like to know that, so.
it's gonna
That's
be
all.
a big
Okay.
box on there.
Okay. We'll talk about anything with traffic. Well, I still think it should be 156. All right, on page 11, level of service screening, step 1. The report of substance states the roadways near the Lincoln University were not evaluated during the traffic study because they will not be impacted air quality. But you're gonna have employees from this place turning right, going past there, because even the diagram shows you the right turns out.
Mhm.
So is there a reason why it wasn't included in the, as an intersection? Or as being impacted?
I'm sorry, sir, you're referring to the air quality study or the traffic study?
The air quality.
So the air quality report follows the DEC regulations.
I'm sorry, it's traffic report, dynamic traffic report 12/19/23. If I'm right here with that.
Well, we probably reference it in the report
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's a DOT screening, so it's any of the intersections that would be like the level of service, I think it's C or worse is like the
Okay.
first step. And I don't, Corey, I'd have to double check if you looked at
No,
anything
it's-
west of the site, but I don't think it's a,
They model things turning out there, but they're
Yes.
very low in those.
That's
Right,
correct,
right,
Mr. Rendell. It's,
Okay.
it's, as you noted, it would just be employees, and it was 4 trips during each peak hour.
Okay, again, that report, page 12 to 13, this is the 2/1/24 report. We use LMAX for peak hour maximum noise levels, and you refer to total sound level of receiver 1 and 2 at 91.0 and 84.9 respectively. However, then the 2/14/24 revised report omits the 2/1 figures and uses peak hour equivalent average noise level, LEQ, for 1 hour, and indicates that 77.7 is the total sound level, receiver 1 emits receiver 2. Is there a reason why the way of calculating it was changed?
it was done based on the comments received from AKRF, because I think, I'm not the noise expert, but I was on the phone call, and from what I understand, the original was, I think, more conservative with some of the background noise, and it was a just straight calculation, whereas the next, in the revised report, was done to eliminate that and do like the DEC version.
Okay, yeah, I
So-
remember reading something like that in one of the responses, but I just wanted to confirm that. Okay, now, page 12/13 and 2/14 report, in calculating CO2 emissions from trucks, 3 per hour using the site, why was the distance only on the site did not include Mountain View entrance and exit to Route 303, an approach to 303 coming up to make a right turn in to the entrance way there, and idling time within the facility to come up with, what was the reason for only calculating within the site itself?
No, so that calculation actually started, it took the path of the truck going south on 303, coming into the site, maneuvering to
Back in,
space,
right,
then leaving out Mountain View and then turning around. And so that total distance, I think it wasn't even a quarter mile.
right.
And so
but-
we used a half mile in the calculation to be conservative. And the number of trucks that are in there is more than it. I know Ms. Lenham, did math earlier on the trucks, but that's the peak number, that's not the amount of trucks that are
No,
operating
because the
every
way
hour.
it's written there is from once you hit the 303, it doesn't say coming up to and then turning in a quarter mile, coming, then turning into the site, then turning out the site, going down and making a turn onto 303 again.
I can clarify that.
Okay.
I mean, it's way big, the calculation is way over the actual distance
Oh,
of time.
right, yeah, the significance, as far as that goes. Okay, I don't know if it was changed, but AKRF's memorandum dated 2/8/24, page 6, number 15, on air quality. The air quality study should consider the CSX rail line mobile sources and its qualitative discussion of existing air quality conditions. It should be noted that the comment was not addressed in the 11/3/23 comments by the KRF. So could you clarify why that was,
Sure. It was added as a qualitative discussion, in talking about it on the phone in the meetings with AKRF. We wanted to, look at the sensitive receptors, but also in relation to the site itself and how the site is set up from noise, but also air quality. So with the way the site is set up, all loading docks face 303. So the building itself almost acts as a sound barrier to everything to the west. But that doesn't mean that the sensitive receptors won't hear noise. There's still the CSX railroad, there's still the traffic associated with 303, of which we're a drop in the bucket. So those were added as discussion points to the memo. So we had it in, I think we had it in
you did?
in one part, but in the air quality, but we didn't have it in the noise, so it got.
Because it was originally in the report, then taken out of the report, so. You mentioned in the 2-1, I think it was removed after that, page 13, the average sound level for project site from roads and railroad, used in HUD calculator, is estimated at 78 decibels, which exceeds HUD's acceptability of 65. Is there a reason it was deleted, or?
It was because it doesn't follow the DEC guidelines. That was, one of the reasons I mentioned before, we revised the report a number of times,
Yeah.
is because we maintained kind of from the outset that it was not going to be an impact. So we were trying to frame it with some of these calculations in there as best we could,
Right.
but as AKRF was going through, wanted to make sure it was complete from a DEC, regulation standpoint, leaving no stone unturned, and make sure you all have that information. So, like I said, it was an iterative thing with should we have this, should we not have this, what's helpful, what's
Right.
not helpful, what's the ultimate, that information is needed. So.
Now, that is the letter from Harco Design, Build Industrial, to Emmanuel Law dated 7/8/21. In paragraph 5, it talks about that all asphalt, concrete, and reusable CMU debris will be crushed on site and used as a subgrade material with no export. Further, during earthwork operation, approximately 2 months, they will go through a process of working the soil and the crushed debris. A couple questions for that. What is the decibel level from the crushing of the concrete? And how long is that going to last? What dust is being produced and how are they going to keep the dust down? What is the, what are you going to do to, abate the sound of crushing? You didn't let that fall from the college. And you're definitely going to get dust in the air from that. So, and with turning over the soil and the debris and mixing it all, and you're talking about probably the area underneath where the new foundation's gonna go. That's what I'm, the assumption I make from reading the letter. We don't know exactly what's under there, so it should be soil samples taken. But how are we gonna make sure that if there is anything, that any pollutants there, I guess it goes back to the management plan you were talking about, that any pollutants do not start flowing down that creates Spark Hill.
Correct. So, so everything indicated in the phase 1 and phase 2 report is that there is no issue. That is as far as DEC is concerned as well. So the site is clean from that perspective. So there isn't any anticipation of any of that, and that's outlined also in the response letter that Stantec put together, which at the end they also echo, what I've said here about the soil management plan. So that's in place, God forbid, something is encountered. So that's one part of it. The construction sequencing was also carefully put together with Mr. Peters, right? So we're moving in a controlled manner. It's not gonna be ripping the whole site open, everything's getting mixed and crushed and loud and 24 hours a day. That's not what's gonna happen. So it's gonna be done in a controlled manner.
And Jesse, there's a separate independent inspector for the SWIP.
Correct. So I'm sure if you don't know, or for anybody that doesn't know, the applicant has to employ a third-party qualified inspector. The contractor has to be a qualified contractor. And those inspections get conducted once every 7 days. If you disturb more than 5 acres at any one time, which has to be pre-approved by Mr. Peters as well, you have to inspect it twice every 7 calendar days. Those reports get shared with the town within 24 hours, and the corrective measures have to be taken immediately. So that's one part. The crushing is part of like normal construction operations that happens on all construction sites. We can try to, the building thankfully is on the far, the northern end of the property, right? So further away from the homes, and also further away from Hurdle Hall is the nearest receptor from Dominican College.
That's
So
right over
yeah.
the driveway into a loop and the railroad tracks,
So that
rail trail.
and the construction sequence includes DEC standards for dust control as well. So all of that is taken into account.
Yeah. I would have liked, that's why it's a shame of me here going over here, because I would like to know specifically at that toluene, if in smaller amounts will affect the microorganisms in Swallow Creek. Because it is impacted, and it's been a major problem for the town. And it goes into Jersey, and it's come back to New York before it goes into the river. So, I don't know if the consultants at the toluene at all.
We did, we looked at the phase 1 and phase 2 reports, and we have comments on those, and we'll run through those. As we're saying, it's a lot of information.
Right.
So we wanna run through and basically summarize the results of all of these studies so that it is clear, because it has been incredibly iterative, and we wanna make sure that what's in the record is clear for everyone reading the record.
Thank you. Okay, later on, in the same letter, in order to preserve the quality of the floor slab, we look to pour our concrete between the hours of 1 AM and 7 AM, which is no. That's,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's this letter here.
I know, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, you couldn't, right, it's not right on the town code. All right, you stated 10-ton HVAC system will be used, gas tower located on the roof. Okay, I don't think any diagram shows exactly where it's going to be situated on the roof.
So in one of the submissions, there was a one-of-one line of sight exhibit. That has a cross-section. It also has a plan view showing where on the roof it's located, but it is in the southwest corner, which is where the office space is located.
Right.
And it's set back enough with the parapet that it's not visible.
Yeah, that one I don't know if I saw that.
And we recently shared it with AKRF, and it's included in the latest noise
Right.
study as well.
Okay, okay, so it shows what the manufacturer states is the decibel levels for it?
That is on the exhibit itself.
Okay, and the noise attenuation steps?
I don't know if those are on there, but we can pull from the.
Yeah.
Sure.
And exactly what they are, what are you gonna put up there? I mean,
It's behind the parapet wall and not visible, which is
okay.
qualitatively removes a lot of noise concern when you can't see
We
it.
did, yeah, we
drops
did it over at the other building.
dramatically.
Okay. All right, now the backup generators, or generator or whatever you want to put out there, do you know the exact locations of those generators?
That I don't know.
Because last time you stated, Marlon's not been selected this time.
Yeah, so those would be dependent, so I guess, on the tenant,
You'd have,
but,
you'd have to come back.
well, we'll provide that.
Okay, and as far as the sound levels, where they situate sound levels and.
Yeah, they were modeled,
Right.
and they are in the list, their noise report, with the diagrams and their location. They're approximately located near the transformer and the trash. So those are in there with the
And the
decibel
source of,
ratings.
what are you gonna be using, is that gonna be gas, oil, what, you know?
I believe natural gas.
Okay, because if you're using oil, then you have to show this is.
No,
the
natural,
containment methods.
natural gas, as I think you read in one of the O&R emails, there's existing service at the site,
Yes,
so
yes.
we're reusing it.
Okay. Oh, and the testing, say not during, nighttime hours, page 5 item C. Well, the usual thing here is testing will be done between 9 AM and 5 PM, Monday to Friday. And that's for every, manufacturing or data processing center or anything in the past.
We can put that on that
Yeah,
note.
put that on, that's the note on there. So we won't get a call at 2 AM in the morning, and somebody decided they want to do it then. Let me see. On this, on a couple of reports, they keep referring to the driveway on Mountain View as a full access driveway,
Yeah.
but it's not full access for trucks.
So, correct. I mean, the fire truck can turn.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but yes, we have the sign that says no
All right.
trucks left
So
turn.
that'll go in when you're gonna give us the sheet with the signage. and-
That one we already have,
Oh, okay.
that one we already have, because we knew turning right off the bat.
So you'll submit on the plans, the signage that you're gonna be using?
Yeah, it'll probably be another sheet
Yeah, okay.
that has the sign details on them and.
Right, yeah, the size of the signs.
Yep, absolutely.
We already talked, okay, about moving the stop bars.
Yeah.
And this, it was just a thing that I think with the original talk with the DOT, and the original stuff was the project doesn't work without the widened culvert, so. I have no further at this time. Do I have a motion to open the public portion? Oh, you wanna say anything, or?
I don't need to say anything.
Provide us with
I'm happy to
Something.
answer questions, but I don't need to say.
Okay, Mr. Barry, do I have a second? Yeah. Mr. Bond, all in favor? Aye. Okay, please, if you want to speak, you have 3 minutes in which to speak. Come up, please give us your name, your address, and if the person in front of you, you're just going to say the exact same thing as the person in front of you, just to save time, or let everybody go earlier, to say that you agree with the exact statement that the person in front of you made, and you want to add additional comments or not.
And
3 minutes, and we'll cut you off, okay? That's what we do, is normal practice, and that's the first town board, normal practice. Yes, sir.
Vincent Lupi.
Just spell your last name for me, sir,
L-U-P-I,
and your address.
106 Spruce Street, Florida, New York.
Spruce?
Spruce.
Go ahead,
Good.
Vincent. Thank you.
I agree with all the concerns the board brought up. The improvement of the intersection, I want to know how that would affect the sidewalks that are existing. And I think it should be looked at that the entrance on Mountain View should have a crosswalk. That should not affect Mountain View itself, but should stop traffic if people are trying to cross, heading east or west on Mountain View, stop the truck traffic from coming onto that road. Also, if it's going to affect the crosswalks on 303 at all. The culvert, my understanding is that's already an approved project. Is this in any way going to delay by the extension of the culvert? Is that going to delay the project that, from my understanding, if I'm correct, that was going to be done by the DEC or whoever's?
We'll answer all questions at the end, but we will answer the question.
So I want to know if that's going to increase the project time or delay it, or if it's going to be a two-phase process, potentially closing that road or impacting traffic on that road. With that said, I'm concerned about the bus traffic, school buses on that road during the construction process of not only the culvert replacement, but also the site project. The left lane, I have concerns that the left turning lane off of Mountain View onto 303, that it will back up and block the straight and right-hand lane. I would like to know how long that turn lane is. Mr. McCrory was really good, and I would like to ask if the average vehicle delay heading west on Mountain View is going to increase. I think if there's any way to put a stipulation that the DOT does not approve these improvements, that any potential project that would be approved would not be approved if the improvements of the road don't go ahead. I'm still concerned about blocking businesses on that road. I didn't hear any way that they're going to address that, the restaurants and the other small businesses there. I would love to see the traffic turning lanes with radiuses like Mr. Andrews stated. Air quality, I want to know if the idling time sitting at the light was brought up in that study, and if they're going to do additional studies on that. Contaminated soil testing, I think as they're doing excavating for the project, that they should do continuous testing of the soil. If there was an independent traffic study from the town, I would like to hear comments from the town's consultants based on that. And those are my 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Allison Sullivan
Wait, let me get here, right? Okay, and what's your address?
is 42 Arthur Street, Blauville.
What was that last name again?
Sullivan.
Sullivan.
Okay. I'm going to repeat a little bit. I agree with everything Vinny said. I want to thank you guys. You did an awesome job tonight and all your questions. Mine's a little bit more heartfelt as a resident here. You know, it doesn't matter how much you improve the road on Mountain View. This is truly a detriment to our community. It will forever change the lovely business area for the worse. Adding 2 to 3 trucks on Mountain View an hour stopped and blocking businesses' entrances will affect their businesses. People will shop and go elsewhere due to the fact that they won't want to deal with the traffic. The traffic can already get backed up there during peak hours. Many students and college students frequent the gym, the bagel store, restaurant, the bakeries, convenience store cleaners, as do I. Do you know that most people take Mountain View Avenue to actually avoid Route 303 to the ever-increasing tractor-trailer traffic and safety issues? I actually implore my kids to not take 303, to take Mountain View instead. Now I can't even do that if this goes through. I live in Blauville and would often take Erie Street to Route 303 traveling south to New Jersey. I avoid Route 303 now because if you are stopped at that light on Mountain View while on 303, you often have to back up to allow trucks coming off of Greenbush Road making the right going north. So if I'm traveling south, I actually have to back up my car if I'm in the left lane because they can't make that turn. You only know this if you live here and you frequent those roads. Are there going to be improvements made to 303? I wasn't certain. And is the applicant, I guess not, right? Because that's a state road, or I'm not even sure. But allow this company to exit and enter, and I could be wrong about that, from Mountain View is unsafe. This road is traveled by many to avoid the congestion of truck traffic, not to mention the rail trail and the numerous residents who use it already burdened by the noxious odors created from aloof and existing truck traffic. Now this will add on top of it. If you allow this company to travel Mountain View, what is stopping other companies from doing the same? Will this then now allow aloof to exit from their driveway there? I want to know. As far as the air issue is already bad. The town cannot control or enforce or fix the current issues we have. Adding 32 trucks or more a day will add additional noxious odors. And odors are different, I believe, than emissions. We're dealing with noxious odor nuisance problems in this town. This is not the same as emissions. How are we measuring that? How is that going to be dealt with? And what happens if they could start to go over that amount of trucks? What is stopping them from increasing this amount? That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Fitzgerald, 15 Mountain.
I'm sorry, how do you spell your last name?
F-I-N. S-T-E-R.
S?
S-T-E-R. W-A-L-D.
A-L-D. I'm sorry, what was your
15
first?
Mountain View Avenue.
Thomas. Thomas, I'm sorry, what's the address for it?
15.
15.
So I agree with everything that's been said before, all great points. So, but I understand peak hours. What is peak hours? I'm not sure what that means, peak hours. And that's 2 to 3 trucks exiting onto Mountain View? Hypothetical question. Buses coming this way, going west onto Mountain View? Truck trying to come out? Pedestrian traffic trying to go down? People from Del Arte trying to make a left-hand turn? People coming out of Town Plaza 2 want to make a left-hand turn or right-hand turn? What happens then? That is congestion. Where's the property coming from to widen Mountain View Avenue to make the left-hand turn lane? Is that going to be the sidewalk on Town Plaza side? Or is that going to be across the street where I know Miss Larry lives? So where does that property come from to widen Mountain View Avenue? And reiterating, the length of the left-hand turning lane. That is definitely, this point is a great point. It's going to fill up. Trucks aren't always going to be able to make that left-hand turn because people are going to cross Mountain View Avenue from Greenbush, and they're going to go straight, or they're going to make a left-hand turn, and that truck is not going to be able to make that left-hand turn. The truck coming from Greenbush, making the right-hand turn, it's going to prevent the truck making the left-hand turn. That's going to be a nightmare. It's already a nightmare, but that's my comment. Thank you. But I want to know about peak hours.
Jeff Hendrick, Hendrick.
What's your address?
6 Mountain View Avenue. I've lived here in Orangeburg all my life. That intersection has always been an issue, no matter what time of day you go. At this point in time, you have school buses that come in the morning, in the afternoon. My driveway is hell to get out of, pardon my expression, but that's how it is. I have to sit and wait for traffic. You're gonna put a couple of trail trucks down on Mountain View Avenue, sitting waiting for a light. How am I gonna get on my driveway? You're gonna have to do some type of, like they do in the city where you can't block an intersection, because it's not, possible to get out at those points in time. The other thing is, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. The traffic light we talked about earlier, I understand the DOT does not want to have another traffic light there, but if they put a second traffic light that was in synchronization with the one that's there on Mountain View Avenue, it would work out fairly well. Have all the trucks enter and exit from 303 only, leave Mountain View Avenue out of it. That would be the best thing. I mean, you're gonna spend a lot of money doing what you gotta do on Mountain View Avenue. Why can't you do it on 303, put an intersection there, traffic light? I mean, when you have the light turning green on Mountain View Avenue to make a left turn going north, it's the same thing. The trucks can get out and go. How many cars are coming out of Mountain View Avenue go left? A lot of them go straight, a lot of them go to the right. So it's something to think about, reopen. I understand there's a lot of flack, they said no. Sometimes you can't take no for an answer. You gotta do something about it, if this project is gonna go through. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm Carol Baxter, 34 Lawrence Lane, Palisades, New York. I was at the last meeting, and as I'm listening to the applicant discuss and give an image of what's going to be happening there, I remember last time the lack of clarity was really hard for me to get my brain around. And I thought it required the planning board to use a lot of imagination to figure out what is actually going to be in there. This is basically, sounds like it's a building that's going to be on spec. They're not clear about who's going to be in the building. It's a storage place, no chemicals, no making of things, no Amazon. But what does that mean? What exactly, can they give us an example of what these companies are? They're asking for approval to build a 175,000 square foot building where it's approved for 65,000 square foot. They're going to have 29 loading stalls, 24 storage stalls, 180 parking stalls. Yet they say it's only about two trucks an hour. It's only a few people working there. The hours are 24/7, but they're primarily working, they can't work between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. So they make it kind of sound like, there's already a right of way that we can widen the road. It makes it sound very easy, but there's a lot going here that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. For all the changes to an F-rated intersection to be spent all this time and energy to fix, make it F. I mean, there's no improvement for anybody. And then they said that it's not their responsibility to make it any bit better than an F. One question I had, something was said about a grant money that will be used to improve the intersection. Is the town securing that grant money, so the grant money that the town is getting is going to be fixing the intersections, that they're going to be using that money to continue it to be an F? I don't know what that grant money was that they were talking about. And the issue about the address, this was brought up last time as well. Truck drivers are not going to be there like all the time. You're going to get these truck drivers that have probably never been there once, and they'll never be there again. So they're going to get confused about where they're going. It's naive to think that all trucks are going to be traveling north, turning left. They're going to be coming from Mountain View. They're going to be coming from New Jersey. They're going to be coming from all different directions. So it's not this kind of quiet, come out, turn left, and leave. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Dudley, 250 South Greenbush Road in Orangeburg.
What was the
Thank
last
you.
name again?
Pardon? Dudley.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board. This job has literally taken years to digest, and we're all still confused. The amount of paperwork, the amount of reports, the revisions, it's just haphazard. It doesn't seem like it's well thought out. It seems like you're just trying to take some, plots of land and shove something in there that really has no benefit to this community. I have been present at every PRC meeting, and not the last meeting, the one before that, the applicant stated that they expected 10 trucks per hour. It doesn't really matter what they say because, it's just words. I live on the other side on Greenbush.
where NICEPAC is, and they weren't supposed to operate 24 hours a day. And as Ms. Slavin knows, they operate 24 hours a day. And no one can stop that. Who hired Colliers? That report is a joke. They've tried to paint this very rosy picture, and it just doesn't, it doesn't add up. I talked to my contacts at the DEC, and they actually had incorrect information in the report, which I will be sharing with the board. No environmental impact, no traffic impact, no air, no noise. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. This project, the way they're presenting it, doesn't make sense. And I will close with an experience that I had yesterday, which was a truck spilling 30 gallons of motor oil at the intersection, closing down 303. They close down 303 almost every other day and route the trucks onto Mountain View Avenue and Greenbush Road, South Greenbush Road. Okay, those roads aren't made for this, so you can keep saying, you know, what you think this project will be. You cannot take into account everything that can happen. So we're still waiting to find out if any of the oil made it into the Sparkhill Creek, but as you add more and more traffic and these kind of, you know, just irresponsible buildings, this is the kind of ramifications that will happen to our town. It doesn't make sense. The comprehensive plan, everyone had input on it. No one wants more warehouses, more trucks. This is just not a great project for our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Heather Hurley, 160 West Crooked Hill Road in Pearl River. I'm also a co-founder with some of these ladies back here at Clean Air for Orangetown. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the Colliers report as well, just to build on some of what Mr. McCrory and Ms. Dudley had said and were asking. That report, to me, is flawed. It's not reliable. And specifically to talk about the surrounding businesses, such as Aloof Plastics. So just to talk about those emissions where it was stated that in the 2-1 report, the one that I had read, just to say that Aloof Plastics, from the foils that I've gotten, so I've gotten foils back in October of 23. So I actually do have some of this information, and I would be glad to share it with AKRF and the planning board, because some of it does talk about their emissions, because they still have not been granted an air state facility permit as of February 15th. The New York State DEC requested additional information from Aloof in June and July in 2023, and a letter from, and this is regarding their air state renewal, and Aloof, the New York State DEC letter said that there were 2 types of aldehydes, quote, exceeding mass emission limits under 6 NYC RR 201-9 Table 1, end quote. And the stack test that Aloof responded with in August of 23, with that information, the stack test in lab burn air emissions was from 2006 and 2007. So there's no way that these emissions can be calculated properly, and I think it is totally irresponsible to refer to this report without further information. And we, the residents, we actually have an open communication with the DEC and have gotten this information. So that Collier report on the air quality and air emissions should totally be disregarded in my opinion and should not be referred to for this project. Thank you.
Vanessa Lappin, 659 Western Highway, Lovell, New York. So when you go into Google Maps and you put in, Route 287 in Tarrytown, and whether you plot it to 518 Route 303 or 13 Mountain View Avenue, both go right over the mountain. When you plot Google Maps from I-95 down by the George Washington Bridge, it comes up and you make a left on 303 into the site. There's no way that traffic isn't going to be doing that. Similarly, the comprehensive plan talks about protecting Sparkhill Creek. They put the number 3, where the expanded buffer is suggested, right over the intersection. So, with a nod to Jonathan Swift, maybe we should just evict the residents and drain that pesky creek so we can solve it for the warehouses once and for all. Because evicting the residents and draining the creek is really the only solution to protecting the warehouses. The comprehensive plan mentions warehouses 53 times. And it's not, we love warehouses. It's, we do not want these built in our town anymore. Clarkstown comprehensive plan uses the word warehouse once. So clearly the town believes it's an issue. 2,800 people signed the 2 petitions against the 2 giant warehouses. That's more people than go to the school board, voting every year, or every year. The town doesn't want this. The town employees don't want it. Even they voted against it in the survey. Nobody wants this to happen. They must be smelting gold in the warehouse to come, because there's no way that the amount of money that they're spending in order to build this thing there can possibly be worth it. The juice is just not worth the squeeze. So based on what Liz said, it just doesn't add up, and we don't really know what's going on. So you can't approve this project because it's a murky mess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Vale, that's V-A-I-L, 389 Kings Highway, Tappan. I'd like to, to save time, I agree with a whole lot of what this board has been doing. Appreciate your questions to the applicant. And I agree with a lot of the statements here. I think I can summarize it by saying that, regardless of the rights, obvious rights of the applicant and the, mitigation that could be supplied, in my opinion, one more truck is one more too many than we have, and one more warehouse is one more than we need. I remember Jim Riley 20 years ago when we talked about 303 in this same context, saying warehouses are the lowest form of use in the town. It's just not desirable. But I do have a couple of questions based on what I heard tonight. And thank you very much, by the way, to the board in raising the questions about aromatic hydrocarbons and about the green infrastructure. These are very important to keep on, and I appreciate your keeping on that. Well, one question I have, maybe more for the applicant. You mentioned the, it's a stormwater kind of a question. One of them is, what is the stormwater designed for? What storm is the detention basin designed for? And another one is, he mentioned, and it sounded great, that they went above and beyond the standards that are required. I assume that that's through the Stormwater Design Manual for New York State. And my question exactly is the standard he's talking about for a regular greenfield, project, or is it the lowered standard that he's comparing it to for a redevelopment? Because they're quite different. Thank you.
Hi, John Savage, S-A-V-A-G-E, 130 Crescent Road in Piermont.
What was the name of the street?
Crescent. Yeah, so I just want to definitely second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, everything that has been said, and I want to thank the board for the obvious effort you've put into this and thought you've put into this. And I think other people have spoken far more eloquently to the environmental degradation, let's say disaster that this project would be, the effect it would have on our quality of life. But what I want to say is I was a little concerned about kind of the procedural issues that have been going on here, because the point of the zoning ordinances is not to provide hoops for people to jump through and check boxes to check off. It's to ensure that development is happening in a way that is beneficial to the residents of the town, and that is happening in a way that the residents of the town want. And the applicants are here before us asking for variances. They're asking for major changes to our zoning, particularly the 303 overlay, which is designed specifically to prevent this type of development. Because as others have said, the residents have spoken very clearly about it. And the only reason the only possible reason to grant those variances, to grant them exemptions to those ordinances, would be if the clear benefit to the town was so far in the balance of positive benefit that it would justify throwing out the master plan. And we don't see that here. This is a warehouse. It is useless, right? It provides barely more benefit to the town than an empty lot. Nothing's being produced there. There's no sales tax revenue. They've said themselves there are barely any employees. It's not providing jobs. It's not bringing people in to spend money in the town. There is no benefit, but we are being asked to be inconvenienced for months, to build roads for them. We are being asked to take on, for in perpetuity, the wear and tear on our roads of their 17,000, or unless we go up to 10 trucks a year, what, 100, I'm not even gonna do that math, right? The damage that their vehicles will be doing to our infrastructure. And are we the kind of town that wants another 17,000 trucks a year coming through? I think we've said no. Are we the kind of town that wants our roads widened all the time to support people's warehouses? I don't know, but I think those are the questions that we have to ask before we consider drains.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else want to speak at this time? Anybody else want to speak on this project? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close public portion? Mr. Ferry, seconded by Mr. Bond, all in favor? You try to answer some of the questions that you asked. Okay. First of all, the culvert project. It was originally approved, it went back to the state for additional funding, which we should know by May if we get the additional funding.
Mr. Chairman, clear, that is a town project, had nothing to do with this project.
Right. Oh, the culvert was originally for the flooding and everything else, it has nothing to do with this project. Any expansion of the culvert, it's gonna, that we should get more money from the state if they approve it. And, we have to look at the traffic plan, see if there are crosswalks or not, but there should be crosswalks the sidewalks.
And sidewalk.
The sidewalks.
What about bicycle lane?
Okay, sir,
Please.
public comments over.
Okay, Route 303, the only changes that might be there will be the stop bars, or the stop lines, so traffic would stop further back from the intersection to permit proper turning without people going over the double line. As, again, the DOT approves that. We can't say, let's move the lines. Department of Transportation, New York State has approved that. We wanted to know about peak hours, we're talking about rush hour. Widening of Mountain View Avenue, it's gonna be on the town right away. You're not taking personal property from anybody or private property, it's all part of the right of way. A traffic light at 303, at the entrance on, an entrance on 303. The DOT said no. We did not ask them once, we've asked them numerous times. They said no. We've asked them before, I think for Crenshaw Street, was once put forward for a traffic light there, for trucks to go out of there. DOT again, no. It would be nice if that happened, but that's the state. Culvert, okay. Aloof emissions is not part of this project. Comp plan, okay, submission, the comp plan was just approved. Anything that was submitted, any project that's submitted prior to this, the approval of the comp plan is still on the books. We can't say no. They can put anything in there, but if it's already in the works, we can't stop it. And we lose in court if we did. The SWIFT is designed for, I think, a 100-year storm. Okay, and any zoning variances is not handled by the planning board. It's handled by the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have nothing to do with it. Whatever variances are, they'll have to go before, whatever they want, they have to go before the zoning board, and it's up to the zoning board to approve the variances. We do not. We don't make recommendations either at this time. I think that's most of the questions that I heard that I could answer at this time.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, anybody else on the board like to make a comment?
For the peak hours, just to address, the hours they use is 7:45 to 8:45 AM, and PM is 4:15 to 5:15.
So those are 3 trucks in that hour.
Sir,
Excuse me,
I'm
sir.
answering your question.
We're answering the questions.
I'm gonna, so the peak
I'm sorry.
rush hour, 4:15 to 5:15, it's not a true representative rush hour. I'm still in the city at 5:15, making my way back up. I just wanted, one more comment, Mr. Emmanuel snuck out of here before I could address it, but he made a comment about I was being confused. I just want to say that any wrong conclusions that I drew tonight, and it goes to what our town attorney said, was caused by how this project was being submitted. The public is confused about it, there's confusion about the project, there's late submittals, there's revision after revision, there's old info mentioned new info, old traffic studies versus new traffic studies. So there is a level of confusion with this. You know, it's not, it's just how it's been presented. Okay, but there is no confusion about the impact it'll have on our town. You listen to the public, big concerns. All right, so just next time you present it, would you please have more information? You know, with everything we've asked for, everything they've asked for, and there'll be less confusion. All right, thank you.
I just have a couple of comments. You mentioned about an EV charging in the parking lot possible. Just want you to know that you have to come back to the board if it's not there when you do the final submittal.
We would look to incorporate it before that.
The other question I have is, the building that's gonna be torn down, do you know if there's any hazardous materials within that building? And if so, what will be the mitigation to get rid of that?
I think so. And they have to provide reports to us before we can issue a demolition permit, state regulations.
And one other question, with Mountain View being widened and improved and everything, as time goes on, with 11,000 trucks, as Denise figured out, who will be responsible for making any repairs on the road as time goes on? Will it be up to the town, will it be?
But the road would be reconstructed using the town's commercial spec pavement, so the town's developed their commercial spec to accommodate truck traffic. So it's designed in that line.
That's all I have.
Can I do that? And I thought it's like the lifespan of a commercial.
Commercial spec pavement,
Yeah.
it's designed to last like 20 years.
Right, okay, and just that better sub-base and whatnot. to
Correct,
Support
exactly.
higher
Yep.
load. One other question that the public brought up, can you provide an example of a similar use facility you've used, not Amazon a lot? Instead of not Amazon, can you say it like?
Sure. So one of the last ones that I did, Uniqlo, it's a clothing company.
Mhm.
So their shipments come in from Europe. They come from the ports. They're delivered to a warehouse facility. They're stored there, and then they're distributed out to their various retailer or other warehouse locations. So that one specifically, it was a clothing manufacturer used for the storage of clothing goods.
Okay, Mr. Emmanuel was talking to you briefly, ask for continuance.
Yes.
Okay, so, for the record, okay, so the board is requesting that KKRF prepare a formal written determination of significance that the board can review prior to the adoption of secret. Is that fine with you? Okay. All righty? Yeah. I think those are gonna, those plans I was asking for, I definitely do. Need those, changes on the other plans, to be notated, but I think that would give us a better idea of what's going on. And we know that, the determination as to, the water runoff, the management plan, prevent runoff, mentioning.
So the erosion control sequence, crush sequence is done, that's all in the SWIP, it's been submitted
Right.
and
But
it's
there was a
been.
management plan that you mentioned.
So the soil management plan is developed, you know, closer to final site plan approval, but I can give you the initial information, you know, for the comments that I took down, you know, with the
Right.
paving and things like that, so I can get you that.
Yeah, because this wasn't to make any informed decision, not try to guess at what the reports are, and if we can get everybody to get the reports in. So if you want to read them in advance, I was reading them at 5:30 this afternoon, so. Okay, alrighty, thank you very much.
Thank you. Time,
Okay,
effort,
thank you.
appreciate it.
We have something to continue, right? Continue, we have other business, right?
Let's keep going with the most recent.
Please, we have further, work.
Other business, right?
We have other business.
Yeah, so can I get a set of documents on this project?
You put a FOIL request in, that's the process.
Okay.
Okay, you can put it in with the planning department.
Okay, we have other business. So we have a referral to the planning board from 2 Route 303 Orangeburg. Currently has to do, they have to remove 2 structures currently, they're falling down on the property. That's where the strip mall is going to be built on the
Excuse me,
south.
one
east
second.
corner.
You can't take those. If you want copies of the record, you have to put a FOIL request, and that's the law. So those are just for reference.
They're online anyway.
They are online, but again, if you put a FOIL request in with the planning department, they'll fulfill your request, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait, Route 303 in Orangeburg, that's on the southeast corner, that's where the strip mall is going to be placed in. They started cutting down trees without a permit in order to get equipment on it to be placed. So they can-
But there's a backstory to that.
Yeah.
Code enforcement has them in court. It was court ordered to demolish the buildings because they're structurally unsafe. One building is 3.5 stories. It's a very large wood frame structure. The applicant didn't, the owner didn't realize that, you know, the court ordered to take the buildings down. They had to start taking the trees down to get the equipment in. So, of course, we're right here, and I said, what's all that noise? Sent code enforcement over, and they stopped them. But they had already, no land disturbance, but they, you know, cleared trees down to the stumps. So they stopped, they put in a quick request, application. So they have to continue with tree removal, no land disturbance, in order to fulfill the court order to take the buildings down.
So it would be
Those buildings definitely need to come down.
so it would be a,
Yeah, and the address is 2 Route 340.
Those buildings definitely need to come down.
oh, it's 3, yes, again, it's 303 on here.
Yeah, that was a typo on,
Yeah, 2 Route 303, it's 304.
Yep,
340,
yeah.
sorry, 340, Mike.
340.
340.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's actually one parcel and it's on the other side of the creek. It's not this one you see here, it's the one,
Right next
Right,
to
when you go
the-
down to those old houses where people may be living in and not.
oh, there's nobody living there now, but yeah, it's,
It's right next to the sewer.
it's,
Yeah, right next to the store.
it's been an issue for a while. Again, they have that very, interesting plan in with the green roof and all the drainage and building a new bridge. So I did meet with the engineer and they're actually returning to the board because their approval has expired. But they've worked through but they had to go through all these other agencies, DEC, FEMA, but a long laundry list they had, so
Okay, so
they're
first of
wrapping
all,
everything up.
We're gonna correct the address to 2 Route 340,
Correct.
okay? And secondly, the resolution to approve the site plan where the trees are marked to be removed. However, the stumps cannot be removed at
I
this
wouldn't say
time.
site plan, so no one's confused, I would say, tree removal plan.
Okay, tree removal plan.
Why can't they remove the stump?
because they can't disturb the ground at this time.
It's in a floodplain.
It's minimal disturbance.
No, it's not,
It's
there's
not.
40-something trees.
But removing this,
Bruce,
stump?
no,
It's
no,
minimal.
no. They cannot, there's no land disturbance, DEC, Rockland County Drainage Agency, they're all involved. If they put a shovel in that ground, they're gonna be in big trouble.
Right.
So they have to stop at the stumps, take them away, take the buildings down, and they can't do anything else until reapproval from this board and the plan is stamped and permits issued.
So the resolution would be to permit the removal of trees as per the tree removal plan at 2 Route 340. However, they are not permitted to remove the stumps at this time.
No land disturbance.
No land disturbance
Do
at
they
this
put
time.
any gravel on top of it, or to make it accessible? I mean, you're gonna need a four-wheeler, you know,
Yeah, they'll have to make sure the site
It's
stays
easy to get
intact.
down.
so they're
It's
gonna,
pretty flat site.
Yeah, you can drive right down, it's very easy to drive down into
what I'm
it.
saying is you can't drive over multiple stumps, right? You're gonna have to
No,
level
No,
it out
that's
somehow
not, that's
to
not the issue. They can
No.
get to the buildings, but
Right.
once you bring in a big truck with the claw,
the extra,
the
okay.
trees were,
Right,
so they needed to clear the trees out so they can actually operate the machinery.
but you can drive in.
There is
very
a-
easily.
There's
not-
driveway
It's not the
access.
path access, it's the overhead.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's the clearance required to
Gotcha.
actually execute the demolition.
So I do have a motion, Mr. Ferry, do I have a second? Denise, all in favor? Aye. As far as the minutes from the last meeting,
So the minutes are 2:15, you can vote on them now, or you can table them to next
I'd
meeting.
like to table them to next meeting, since a lot of people haven't read them since they came out yesterday. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Ms. Linehan?
Second.
Mr.
Barry, second.
No, Mr. No. Mr. Luciani, second.
Find it out.
We got that in there.
Should have more excitement.
All in favor? Aye.
I don't say.